bro. Welcome. Why does the music keep stopping? I don't know. I don't know why. Welcome, guys. How are you doing? How are you doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Today we have a very special event because we're going to be interviewing some amazing JoJo voice actors in English. We all know that we like JoJo here. I mean, my whole room is literally JoJo. It's entire room of JoJo and mess. So I thought it would be fitting to assemble many of the English JoJo voice actors, and we can just ask them some questions. And you guys in chat can also ask them some questions. I know you guys have many questions. I'm sure they're probably not safe for work. I'm sure most of them are not safe, but we can ask some questions. I think it'd be good for us to ask them all of the stuff. And also, don't forget, guys, that if you do want to get any signed prints from any of these amazing actors while we're doing this, you can use !prints in the chat, and it'll bring up all the prints. I'll also be doing signed prints as well, so if you want to get some from me, you can do so as well. There's a limited number, and I'm sure the other actors as well also have a limited number. So if you want to grab some, make sure to go there. No JoJo suits. Chat. Don't call me out, all right? Don't call me out, all right? No spoilers. I hope not. We'll find out. There probably won't be any spoilers. But I suppose without further ado, we should probably go and say hello to our actors. I think it's about time, don't you guys? All right. Oh, hi guys. How you doing? It's all Dilo. There we go.
Hello.
Oh no, they can't see. Okay, wait. Okay, there we go. Okay, hello. Unfortunately,
hey guys.
Tiana's webcam isn't working, but that's fine. The show
What
can
do you
still
mean?
go
That's
on.
Tiana right there.
That's Hermes, right? Right there.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He's very still.
Right, so I guess we should start off by introducing everyone and who they play in JoJo. I, of course, don't play anyone, sadly. I can dream, though. But, of course, we have Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Lotta. I voice FF Foo Fighters in Part 6. And I'm also in stuff like Made in Abyss as Rico and Dr. Stone as Yuzuriha and Satoko and Higurashi for some other tasty tidbits. I'm excited to be here. I love JoJo's. I'm so excited to be in this cast with these people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Woo!
And, of course, some of you may know Yong. He's also a YouTuber as well.
Yeah, hi. My name is Yong Yeah, and I play Enrico Pucci in JoJo Part 6.
Hell yeah.
It's an honor to be among this incredible cast and to be a part of this show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging out with all of you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And we have Kira and Casey in the same location.
Yeah. What's up? I play Jolene Cujo, and I was saying when I said that on a panel last weekend that it still feels so crazy to say that, right? Like that I'm the English voice of Jolene Cujo. I was also in every previous part of JoJo somewhere, starting in Part 3. I played one of the Jotaro fangirls in Part 3. I was Reimi Sugimoto in Part 4, and I played the little girl on the plane with Doppio in Part 5, as well as one of the ice cream girls. So, just being Jolene is like a dream come true. So I was like,
JoJo
hey,
fan.
don't let your memes be dreams. Yeah.
And Casey.
And, hello, I am Casey Mangelo. I play Emporio in Stone Ocean, which is really, really cool. I was going to wear my hat and I forgot. Whoops.
No! Stream is ruined.
Whoopsies.
And, sorry. Go ahead.
Doodle. And you might know me as the protag Nahabino in Shin Megami Tensei 5 or Shinji Ikari in Neon Genesis Evangelion. And yeah.
What a subtle flex. Yeah, just Shinji from Evangelion, no big deal.
Just, casual things.
Yeah. And also we have Tiana who's here, who plays Hermes, right?
Yes, hi, my name is Tiana Camacho. I play Hermes Costello in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. You may have also heard me in Pokemon Journeys as Bee, who's one of my favorite gym leaders in Galar.
Yeah.
And to Yashahime as Yawaragi, who trains Moroha. And also Cookie Run. If you guys are into Cookie Run, I also play Black Raisin Cookie. It's a pleasure to be here, and I absolutely love my cast members.
Oh yeah,
we love it too.
I'm excited, and we'll get some questions from chat later, of course. Although that might be a terrible idea, we'll find out. I guess were you all familiar with JoJo's? Akira, I already know this answer.
Yeah.
Before you all were voicing in JoJo, was everyone familiar with it here? I'm just curious.
I had a client who asked me for an original game series to watch all of JoJo's, because he was like, it's very important that you understand what I'm going for stylistically. So Matt and I sat and we watched parts 1 through 5 in the summer of 2020. And then he was like, also watch this like weird religious show too. And I was like, how are these going to tie together? And I can't talk about the game yet. It's not ready for that yet. But he did have me watch it all. And I was like, oh my God, I love JoJo's. It's so great. And Matt and I like live tweeted it, like made a Twitter thread as we watched it and stuff. Matt's my husband. I probably should have said that.
Just
But
guy.
yeah, so we were pretty hyped when Stone Ocean was announced, and then even more hype being in it with these people especially. So yeah.
For my part, my brother had introduced me to JoJo, and I'd seen enough parts that by the time that I kind of started my voice acting career, that I was like, I definitely want to do this someday, maybe years down the line. But it came a lot sooner than I expected, and I mean, the role. I mean, it's I never would have dreamed that I'd be here. So. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And since I still have not read parts 7 and 8. That's what I'm gonna try to work on next.
Ooh.
But I'm other than that, I'm caught up and excited to see how this the season's fully animated all the way through. I'm pumped.
Part 8 is like the most bizarre so far, just to warn you.
Yeah, so for me and JoJo, I learned everything I did about JoJo from Kira, because if you're around Kira for like 2 minutes, you will learn everything there is to know about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But I tried reading the manga first, actually, before I even saw the series, and I tried getting through Phantom Blood, and then it got to the part where the dog got set on fire, and then I needed a mental health break for like 5 seconds. I was like, oh my God, this is too much. And then I went through Phantom Blood. I really enjoyed it, and I kind of just like left it by the wayside. And then I ended up in JoJo, actually in Golden Wind, doing bit parts. I play Narancha's mom. I play an old lady that frames Narancha for the thing. So the Narancha episode, I'm kind of peppered all over. And I also get crushed by a car. And I sat there and I was like, I don't understand anything that's happening. And this is strange. So I started watching Golden Wind to catch my parts to see if I could announce it. And then I got addicted to Golden Wind. So I kind of like, I started, stopped, and then worked backwards.
Huh. So you didn't watch the parts in between part 5 and 1? You just went straight to 5, right?
Yeah, I kind of caught the other parts in passing, but then I started at 5, and then I went back and I started watching some other stuff.
Although that's blasphemous, it's understandable in this this scenario. You got to do your research, right?
I made up for it.
Oh yeah, true. And obviously, Kira, everybody knows that you know JoJo. Kira, you've the Joestar tattoo as well, right?
I do. Let me see if I can show you guys properly.
No.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's crazy.
Yep.
And this
I've had that for like 7-8 years at this point.
Oh man.
So did you have that tattoo before you did any JoJo roles?
Yeah, I just really loved JoJo, so I got it. Also, because like you don't really know it's a weeb tattoo unless you know what JoJo is, right? So it's just like
it's just a star, right? It's just like stars.
Yeah.
And what about you, Casey?
Oh well, Kira and I are roommates, so
yeah, okay.
All you need to know.
I was exposed to a lot of JoJo, whether or not I wanted to be. I think after moving here to Los Angeles like 5 years ago, pretty much to the day, I think the first day I was here, you gave me a ride. And Iggy Pop was playing. I'm like, oh, you got Iggy Pop in here. You're like, yeah, it's a thing in JoJo. And she started talking about it. And I'm like, all I understand from this conversation is Iggy Pop and The Passenger, the song that was on. I'm like, I don't know anything. So she spent, like 30 minutes explaining JoJo
about
to me, and
how
I'm really
Iggy
lost.
Pop has a song called I Want to Be Your Dog. And so I was like, oh, it makes sense that Iggy's a dog in JoJo.
And I was like, so there's an anime where classic rock references or peppered throughout. What is going on here? And that
Yeah,
was
it's
my
really
like
bizarre.
exposure to it. And I'm like, huh. And I think when I finally moved in with you like 2 years later, we watched the first couple parts, and I'm like, this is weird and really bizarre. And dogs don't have a good time in this series.
That's true. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Araki just doesn't like dogs, apparently.
Yeah.
He's, ripped Annie.
Rude.
Yeah, I know, right? That's my name as well. God damn it. Yeah, but...
Yeah, it's true.
So you all have quite important characters to the series, I'd argue as well, especially in part 6. It's all quite impactful characters, I'd say. Obviously, Kira, I think we know you wanted to be Kira, but for the other guys, I'm curious, did you want to get the specific character that you ended up voicing, or was it just kind of like, I just read for it and it worked?
When auditions came out, Fu was not in the initial batch, and I immediately responded, and I was like, I would like to read for Fu, Foo Fighters /FF, and they were like, oh, they're not auditionable at this time. And I was like vibrating, and then because I really did, like, I really liked them. And Maria Issei is my favorite seiyuu. And it was always a dream of mine to play a role or share a role with Maria Issei. So I was like,
what a role to share with her.
I know. It's really cool. So yeah, and then when the audition eventually landed in my inbox, I like got it from my agent, and I like screamed, and Matt was like, what's wrong? I was like, I got an audition for this thing. And I mean, he knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I like wrote back to my agent. I was like, I'm freaking out. And they knew I wanted it. And then when I got cast, my agent sent Matt an email and was like, Brittany booked FF, and I would like to call and let her know. And so we were making breakfast or something, and Matt had given him my number because he didn't have it for some reason. And then he called me, but I didn't know it was him. And I had dropped my phone, and it starts vibrating. And Matt was like, you have to pick that up right now. So I did. And I like started crying on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like just so overwhelmed and like was so excited. And like he knew, he was like, I know you really wanted this. And they got off the phone with him, and I was like freaking with Matt. And we were just so distracted that we left our breakfast on the table, and the dog stole it.
Oh, no.
So she even celebrated.
Everyone was eating good.
Everyone was
good.
Nice.
What about you, Young?
For my part, I wasn't aiming for anything initially because I got cast for like some incidentals before I even got the sides for Poochie and Weather Report were the two that I got.
Right.
And so I didn't even think I had a chance really to audition for some of these major characters. And then I got the sides and I saw Poochie, and I knew immediately I want this so bad.
Yeah.
I also would have been elated to get Weather Report, but Poochie just everything about him, it just felt right for me. And so I spent so much time with that audition, reading that script over and over again, trying to understand who this character is, like how his long-term goals affect, sort of his short-term intentions in this scene. And like, I really spent more time than I probably should on an audition with this specific audition. Usually, like as a voice actor, the encouragement is to not try to get too stuck up on an audition and like do too many takes because you get too much in your head.
Yeah.
But this is one of those like I really want to like hone in on this and do my best and put my best foot forward. And fortunately, it worked out. Yeah.
You got to that point where you start going crazy and you think all the lines just sound terrible when you record them.
Yes. I spent. I think I spent about the first day doing a couple takes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. You hear me now? How's it? Can you hear me now?
All right, I can hear you guys.
I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry, my headset just died.
Cool.
All right. Sorry, where we left off there. I think we just finished with Young, right?
Yeah, for Poochie, the first day I did do one too many takes, and I was getting to the point where I like couldn't recognize what was what from what, and so I took a day off. I went back the next day, listened to all the takes that I felt like I liked that day, and then like made a couple. Took about 3 of them. I'm like, okay, these are good, and then refined from there, and then sent the ones that I felt the best.
That's
And
honestly like the best tactic too when you have the time. It's
Yeah.
just like come
Yeah.
back to it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did too. Like I came back to it. I was like, okay, I'm freaking out about this. And I came
Mhm.
back to it. And then my agent was like, let me just give you critique on it. I know you really want it. And like I got his ear on it too. And
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
like, I don't have anything to say, so just send it in. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like the best technique when there's not 2 hours.
Yeah, because when
Yeah.
you keep hearing your voice over and over again, it all starts to become a muddled kind of
It's all wrong.
yeah, it's all wrong, like that kind of feeling. And then you come back to it a day later after not having listened to it, and you can kind of be more objective about it. And that helped
Yeah.
tremendously with me being able to be like, okay, these are the good ones. I'll send these in.
Yeah, but for me though, it was a little different because when I got the Hermes audition, they needed it by the end of that day, so I didn't
wow.
have time to do anything. When I got it, first of all, Hermes is a role I really did conspire to get for like 4 years because I
Oh,
really
wow.
wanted it. And the main reason why is because Kira would constantly tell me that I was a perfect fit for that role. And
right.
Kira is one of the first people out in LA that I honestly felt was like actually like a really good friend. And my dream was to be opposite Kira in that kind of role somewhere. So, first of all, when the biggest JoJo fan in the world says you're fit for that character, you listen. And second, I really wanted to be opposite Kira in that sort of capacity, only because it would be like, one, the chemistry would already be there, and two, I wouldn't have to fake it. And also, you know, just reading up on the character, and, you know, I did a little bit of research, obviously, before even being like, I really want this part. She's just really cool. She's a really cool character, and she's one of those characters that's like strong, but she's friendly, you know? And that is really, it's not a difficult line to walk, but it's not something I see in a lot of female characters, especially female characters of color. So when I got that audition, I was just like, shit, I can't waste any time because it's due. They said, first of all, they said it was due ASAP and didn't really give me a time.
Okay.
But in like general, like voice actor shorthand, it's usually before 5 p.m. So that they can send it over same day and they'll have it by the end of the day. So like I studied the scenes a lot and I just really tried to match the original Seiyu as close as I could, including all of like the hitches and everything, because I knew it had to be perfect, but I didn't have time to get in my head about every single acting choice. And then I sent it off and the rest is history, and I got to be Kira's friend in a thing, so that made me happy.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We're on the good
Thank you.
timeline, I think. I think everyone got what they wanted, right, so far? And of course, Kira and Casey, I'm sure, Kira, you have a very fun story about how it all transpired. I imagine being in that room when you received the audition was probably interesting.
Well, the weird thing was I got Jolene. No, I was asked to audition for Emporio, which is the character that Kira was like, "You'd be great as Emporio," and I'm like, I have no idea who this is. So I got the auditions. I'm like,
well, especially because you wear a baseball hat around just when we
yeah.
go places.
So of course I was just like, "Well, you wear the hat just like Emporio." And I'm like, "You keep saying Emporio. What is it?" Looked it up, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's fair." And when we got the auditions, I was asked to audition for Emporio, but they sent me Jolene's sides, like auditions, like the lines to read as the audition. And I'm like, thank you, but is it possible to get the? I think someone may have made a mistake.
Oh no!
And Kira's sitting there going, you what? Huh? And you know, she didn't get an email because it was supposed to have gone through her agent or something. So she didn't. She had like no time to do the audition.
Yeah, it was the same. Like as Tiana said, I had like a couple hours to do it, which in hindsight, I'm kind of glad about, because I feel like if I had like 3 days, 4 days to turn it in, I would just be agonizing.
You were well. She was kind of.
I can imagine.
She was totally agonizing because she's like, "Oh my god, I wasn't sent it. Maybe they hate me." And I'm like, "Sure, that's not it." You know,
I remember we had a session that day together, Kira, and we were talking about these sides. We're like, I wonder when you're gonna go out.
Yeah, so I did my Emporio one, and like, I did it in like pretty much like one take because I'm like, I don't really know. I don't want to overthink it. And I hate that was when I first started out voice acting. That was my worst problem. I'm always so self-conscious, being like, oh my god, I'm not good enough. So I just started to say, screw it, I'll do a take. maybe 2.
Those
And
are always the ones you book too, where you just do your your
or
first
I'm like,
or
I don't want to
second
get too
take.
stuck on it or get like too attached, So I just kind of did my thing. And I sent it off, and I had 24 hours to send it in, which is typical. Not a
Not
you
the
don't
most
usually have like
time.
weeks. You don't usually have like a week or longer. Typically, it's a
No.
couple of days, 3 days.
Mhm.
This was just like, okay, we'll get in tonight. That way, I don't have to do it tomorrow morning, kind of thing.
Mm.
And I'm still sitting there going, "Did you get any emails yet?" And she's like, "Nothing yet." And I'm like, "Huh." So it turns out, like, I guess her agent was supposed to send something, but like something happened where she wasn't sent the sides on time.
Mm.
So, the studio reached out being, "We noticed you didn't." To you, you can finish this story. This is really you.
No, I was just like, hey, I'd like to read for this. Pretty
Yeah, I
much.
was like, "We noticed you didn't read for Jolene. Is everything okay?" Pretty much. And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, so
And,
are you able to just ask if you are aware that there's auditions available? If
I mean, it kind of depends on,
Right.
your relationship with the studio and casting
That
director
makes
and
sense.
stuff. Like, you couldn't really, if
Yeah.
it's like somebody you haven't
Just
worked with before,
off the
but
street.
yeah.
That makes sense.
But,
That makes sense.
thankfully, since I already had a relationship with them and have worked on a bunch of other shows with them, it was like less awkward.
Yeah.
Right, that makes more sense.
So after reaching out, you had what, one evening to do the audition?
Yeah, like a
or
couple
something
hours,
like
because
that. Yeah, a
it's
few
just like
hours,
as
and that
soon
was
as
it.
possible. So I just like
Mm.
ran in there, and thankfully, I feel like it, of course, helped because I already had read the manga. Like I knew the character. I want to say like kind of inside and out. So I could just try to like get all that nuance that I could.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it. And you guys probably heard the scream when she received the audition.
I was going to say, I wanted
that's
to know
what
what the
that was.
That's what
reaction
that
was
was.
like.
Well, it was more like the scream when I like found out I booked it. I was just like,
Well, just when I was like, "Did you get a thing? Like, did you get the thing by chance, the audition?" You're like, "No." And I'm like, and just when I showed you, I'm like, this. And like the noise you
my
let out was
gosh.
inhuman. And once again, once you booked it, I just knew. I'm like, I was gonna be like, "Everything okay?" I'm like, from the other room, I'm like, I just hear you screaming. I go, yeah. I have an idea what just happened.
So how long was it from the point where you auditioned to when you found out you got the role? And because I imagine that time period was quite agonizing.
It was like a few days.
yeah, it was a couple days.
So not that long at all then.
Yeah, it really just depends on the
Mine was
project.
48 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like
Alright.
not long at all.
Me and I've I think told this story a number of times already, but I found out during a session because I wasn't sent an email saying you got cast as X, Y, and Z. I was just told by my agent, first session for JoJo, it's 2 days from now. You play Pale Snake, and I'm like, oh, I just got cast as Pale Snake, I guess, and I for some reason forgot that the actor plays both the character and the stand, and I think there's a part of me that didn't want to hope I got Poochie just in case I didn't. So subconsciously, I think I was like, no, don't even hope. Don't even do that to yourself.
Yeah.
And so I just played Pale Snake. And then in the middle of the session, they're like, you're going to do Poochie tomorrow? And I'm like, what do you mean I'm doing Poochie?
I had no idea.
And, so yeah, I had my freak out moment in front of the director, which was pretty funny.
It totally happens. It's great.
Yeah. And man, yeah, that's some intense joy I felt right there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm curious because JoJo characters are often quite known for being quite eccentric, quite out there. Was there anything about any of your characters that was specifically quite hard to record for? Or was it all just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know JoJo. This is easy. Whoever wants to go first.
For me, actually, like, because when you watch JoJo, these guys go into random long ass monologues about seemingly the most random thing out of the blue, and so like understanding almost like the language of JoJo and like getting acclimated to acting using the language of JoJo, if you will, was interesting to get acclimated to. Because reading it and watching it is one thing, actually like performing those lines is a whole different thing. You kind of have to get a little used to because it's so like different from how regular people speak. People don't speak like that at all. And so getting acclimated to that took a little getting used to. And then, distinguishing the voice between Pale Snake and Poochie, making them just similar enough that, they're clearly related in terms of stand and user, but not so much that, they start bleeding into each other. So those were some interesting challenges that presented. That was really fun to figure out.
Oh, thank you for that.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Tiana?
For me, with Hermes, the thing about her is that horrible crap just keeps happening to her.
Yeah,
can't
me
get
too.
Like she's
God.
getting injured. She had to deal with police brutality. Some dude almost kills her like a million times and tries to drown her. So, like, my dude, come on, this is a lot. And you kind of, first of all, as an actor, you have to occupy that headspace of living in the moment without it affecting you too much emotionally, which is whatever. I mean, it's not my first rodeo. That's fine for me. For me, it's the vocally stressful parts. She does a lot of she projects a lot.
Yeah.
And because of the constant being electrocuted and drowning and beaten and stabbed and all these other things that happen to her, there's a lot of like efforts in a video game where people are like screaming a lot and stuff like that. Luckily for me, I placed Hermes in vocally in a place where she can slide a little bit to minimize all of that, because I do a lot of video games, and that's usually what happens is efforts get that big. So it wasn't really anything I felt I couldn't handle or I wasn't prepared for. It's not something I initially thought of when I auditioned for it and booked it. It ended up kind of just happening as I went along because of all the stuff that happens. So it was like, yeah, she's just a vocally stressful role, but I do actually enjoy pushing those boundaries and kind of just living in that headspace and testing myself as an actor, which is why I say I think Hermes is probably the most rewarding role of my entire career.
Oh, wow.
To just be able to give all of myself to her and see her live just really makes me feel a certain way as an actor and makes me feel very fulfilled.
I think I'm fortunate that Poochie is one of the calmer JoJo villains, so he's always kind of like trying to keep us cool, like counting prime numbers to keep his peace of mind. And so, yeah, for now, he's gonna be screaming a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, I feel like I've had the less vocally stressful sessions until things begin to escalate. But it's also interesting, like finding that balance of, because there are times when he freaks out during this first batch of 12, and it's like finding that balance of like panic that's just on the surface, like that was an interesting placement of emotion to find and search for, and that took a bit as well. So it's always fun to explore these things as an actor, I think.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Brittany?
So I did 2 4-hour sessions back to back.
Okay, wow.
So it was like a Tuesday and then like a Wednesday or something like that. And we recorded everything so out of order in the story sense.
Oh no,
So
really?
Yes. So so the casting director actually was in for the first 30 minutes because Mommy Okada wanted to like tinker with the voice, but not like tinker with the voice, but like the attitudes, because we started, the very first thing we did was when Fu takes over Atro's body. And it's like, hey, if I were to jump out from that window, like that whole scene, we did that first. And Mommy really wanted to strike the balance between that like kind of textured sound that Fu had and like the coolness and the like, oh, they're also really cute and like kind of like silly, like, so like finding that like, okay, here's when they're confident and then here's where they're like wiggling around and being weird. So like we spent that time like kind of finding like where they lived for like that like very different aspects that are just in that first scene. And then I recorded all of the like Fu in Atro's body. Then so that was like the last few minutes of 8 and then all of 9. And then we swung back around day 2 after we finished episode 9. We did Atro. And then we did the stand where like, yeah, they manipulated me, but all of that was like me pushing down like, you will call me FF or you will whatever, not at all. like all like chesty the entire time. And so then I did all of that stuff where I said all of the lines that all of the people who they possessed did. And then they had to repeat after me, and they mixed them together.
Oh wow! This is trying to
then-
follow track of this mentally is difficult.
Yeah. So then I did all of the stand, and then I did all of the creature stand. So all of the like, and and then all of the plankton sounds like. Then we did all those. So by the end, that last hour, when it was all the like big like that was horrible for my cord.
I think that was horrible for mine. Just listening to that, I think.
Yeah, like the 2 4-hour days, and like Fu in general was like yelling a lot, and like even like in the baseball episode, just like all that action in it. That episode was very action. Probably my favorite episode. That was just such a fun episode. But like, so it's just a lot of vocal strain packed into 2 4-hour sessions, and I normally wouldn't really be gung-ho about 2 4-hour sessions in a row for such a strenuous character.
JoJo.
But their schedule was like, this is how it has to be.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys could all speak to that. So yeah, and I didn't do any other voiceover for the rest of the week. I had to cancel anything.
Fair.
Somebody
It's like,
said,
I cannot.
somebody said, listening to those noises from Brittany sobered me up. I think that's pretty. That's true.
So
And,
yeah, I think that the creature stuff, like just the timeline of it, was the hardest part of voicing Fu. Yeah,
Doing things out of order too, because
Yes.
I mean
Yeah.
I didn't do anything out of order. I don't know about you guys, but mine was, I think, pretty much in sequence of
Same
how
for
it
me.
goes. Yeah.
that's
So
why I was very glad that I read the manga, because
yeah.
the director was really confused because he just got those episodes too. So I
Yeah.
was like, I don't really know. But mommy knew what was going on when we set the voice, and yeah, I read the manga, so I knew what was happening.
how was it for Casey? How was it to voice your character, given that you didn't really know much about JoJo?
I still don't know a whole lot about it. As I'm working on it, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, oh, this is weather report. Oh, he sleeps in the piano. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But it's fun. I'm pretty much learning it as I go along. And because just in case I ever ended up doing anything JoJo, I never wanted to read anything. Just in case, I like to kind of go in fresh with this stuff. For me personally, I figure it worked with Ava. Maybe it'll work with most other things. That way I don't get in my head about stuff. So I'm just kind of going along for the ride with this one, and it was just a lot of fun. Even though I don't know what's going on a lot of the time, I'm like, oh, now Emporio is kind of warping through a wall. That's cool. I don't entirely know why, and even the director's like, I'm not entirely sure why. We don't have all the context. I'm like, cool. I was gonna hit up Kira, but the turnaround for this thing was so fast from start to finish was like a few weeks or something like that. So we were recording at the same time, and we only have one booth at home. So we'd kind of alternate. If she was doing something from home, I would be like, well, I got to come in the studio. So I'd go into the studio and we'd swap out, like, okay, you go to the studio, I'll do it from home this time. And it was really fast and pretty hectic. And, I can imagine that for all you guys, especially the main cast, it's strenuous.
Yeah, I had the most lines of anyone.
I know what crazy strenuous long hours are like. And after watching it, I'm like, man, you guys kill it. How little time you guys had was like freaking phenomenal. Really
and I was
good.
doing so many other shows at the time too,
wow.
so that made it hard because I do 4 hours of JoJo, which is, the most
Yes.
vocally stressful thing I've ever worked on. Although I love it, so I wouldn't complain about that ever. But then it's like I would do like 3 hours of another show where I'd be doing where I do a video game and be doing battle call outs. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
How
Did
was
all of you record from home? I know Kira and
I
Kate,
did.
you guys kind of went through to the studio.
Yeah, we all.
Yeah, I asked to go in for my first session because I just really didn't want to like have to start off doing it from home. I just wanted to be able to focus on my acting and setting everything. But
for sure.
I did a lot from home towards the end though.
And Yang, you said you did.
I did it all from home. Yeah,
Yeah, I
all of
did
it.
everything from home.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did everything from home because I'm in Texas.
Right.
Fair. Yeah, the only reason that we alternated was because we have, like you were saying before too, we have like so many other projects we're working on simultaneously. JoJo's not going to be the only thing we're doing that day. So if we're doing a game or coming from that, I'm like, well, I got a game at 2 to 6, and you're like, oh, well, I'm doing JoJo at this time. I'm like,
sounds like the best problem.
well, I think I have to come out of the studio, and they're just like, okay, we'll get a room for you. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness that's an option, because if it wasn't, this would have been really difficult, and we probably wouldn't have finished everything on time, because you had hours upon hours. I mean, I had a good number of hours, but you had hours.
Yeah. How was it for you, Kira, doing this? I imagine, again, you must have had a lot of hours, but how was it voicing for Jolene?
I'm amazing, but also like very, very vocally stressful, because her seiyuu, as we know, is just incredible. She just goes all out. She just does these like really like these screams and stuff. And you know, I studied her voice print as much as I could when it was first announced that she'd be playing the character. But obviously, until the trailer, we didn't really have a lot of clips of her Jolene. So I tried to just like, I was like finding clips of other shows she'd been in, but she played very different types of characters. I even just watched like a couple interviews with her to try to like just get an idea of her voice print, because before it's like we had Jolene's voice from the games to go off of. So, you know, I've been kind of working on like what I felt would be like my Jolene voice for years at this point. But, you know, just kind of just really trying to get it right, because I feel like she set the bar so high, because she's also a huge JoJo fan too. Like for anyone who didn't know, like Jolene was also her dream role. So I think, you know, it's just very cool.
It's pretty cool how it worked out for both you guys.
Yeah.
And how many hours of recording did you have to do in the end? Do you remember roughly?
Oh, I mean, I could tally them up at some point, but it was a lot, because there was like sometimes we'd get the scripts and there were entire pages of cues on the scripts that were all just me. So it was a lot.
Those JoJo, normally they have like inner monologues, right?
Yeah.
Like I would be sitting right outside this booth, just like playing a video game with headphones on or something like that. And I'm just like, pretend I have a watch. It was just looking over like, how long has she been in there for? And it's like 4 hours. Another 4 hours. The next day, 4 hours. I just hear her screaming and going nuts. And I'm just like, how the hell do you have a voice after that? Like,
I mean, I was
didn't.
essentially only two episodes about, and I had like 8. So I imagine like if you take the majority of each episode being Jolene, like, and multiply that and get a lot of hours.
And doing it from home too is absurd. I would be scared that I would be the heat as well. And there's like no oxygen in this booth as well. And I'd be scared I'm gonna like freak out the neighbors with these kind of screams, you know? And each time you're like, I'm like just looking outside, making sure everyone's like, yeah, we're just working, no problem here. I'm so glad. Like I feel very lucky that when I was doing Ava, I didn't have to do it from home, because it was before the pandemic. I don't think I would have. People would have called the police. A number of times.
I can understand that concern.
Yeah, and you know, for Kira, I'm like, I'm keeping guard. No worries.
We have the booth that helps.
Yeah.
I live in an apartment complex. My neighbors probably think I'm a freak. I haven't met them, but I'm sure I'm a known quantity in this apartment complex, probably.
Watch one of them come down and be like, I like your YouTube channel.
Right. I'll get the mail or something. Hey, I'm subscribed to you. Oh, thanks.
I have a house now, thank God, because I don't think I'd be able to be in Higurashi if I didn't. Set apart from the road a good bit. But when I lived in New York City, if I did any recording, I had to put a sign on my door that said, please do not call the police. I'm just recording voiceover. I swear it's okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that tracks.
I might do that, just in case.
Not easy being a voice actor from home. But most of the projects that I assume you guys are doing now are from home recording, right? Is that correct?
A lot of them.
Yeah, it's a mix. Some places.
A mix.
I haven't gone to a studio in 2 years, so.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Some studios will make us go in. Some are like, we have to have you guys come in because whatever reason, or we just don't have a way to. We don't have this set up to do remote recording. So can you, if you're not comfortable, we can recast you, kind of thing. I'm just like, I'll go in, because if they follow safety protocols and all that stuff, then it's fine. You know, if there's like one engineer in, the director's remote. So it's in the entire building. I'll go in to do things sometime, and I'm like, this is a ghost town. Like places I used to go to all the time. And I'm like, oh, there's like one dude in here. That's crazy. Where I'm used to seeing a bunch of people. It'll just be like one dude, the engineer, lets me in. And we're not even in the same room. It's like, open the door, you get in your room, you're all set. We already mic'd you. We
That's
know your
crazy.
height. You're short. You're really short. And
It's
I'll
okay, weather report can just carry you like a football.
yeah,
again.
yeah, right. And like, we just do our thing, and when we're done, they clean it up in case anyone else comes in.
Right.
It's not like there's a lot of people in the studios when we do have to come in. It's really isolated. It's like the one or two people that'll be in the entire building, you don't even
Yeah.
really see them. If you do, it's like, hi, bye, I'm going in that room now. I'm
Yeah.
here to let you in, and bye, I'm going home. And that's it. So I don't feel like it's scary to go in certain studios and be like, all right, cool. But it definitely helps too when you have two voice actors here that are
Familiar.
doing a lot of stuff, and it's like, when's the booth free? I don't know. Look at the schedule, and it's like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Do you
Someone's
find
gonna have
that
to tap out.
there's... Oh, sorry. Do you find that there's much difference in the shows that are recorded from home and the ones that are in studio, or is there not really much difference at all?
I feel like Brittany would be a good person to answer this since
Yeah.
she also works on production side.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I like working from home more from the production side, but I also am really blessed that so my husband and I, we own Coach's Sound, and we produced the dubs for Akudama Drive this last year and Kemono Jihen. And it was done entirely by the two of us and our mixer. So 3 people doing all of production. And our mixer is so good that I didn't feel like we had a quality difference because he was able to take care of a lot of the noise removal and equalizing to make things kind of all sound similar. And then because of that, I can cast people like you, Connor, who is in Spirit Chronicles.
Thank you.
And not have to worry about where you are. And when I sent that off to that show, I didn't direct, I just cast. But when I sent that off to my producer, I was like, I want to use this guy. They were like, yeah, it doesn't matter he's in Japan. That's cool. Space. Great. Pass the test. And that's kind of awesome,
Yeah, that's really cool.
that can happen. And for Spirit Chronicles, we had people all over the place. And same for Akudama Drive and Kemono Jihen. We had people from coast to coast doing that, and it was rad. And I don't want to really go back as long as my mixer can keep up with it. I love it because there's so many more people you can use, and there's so many more things open to you. It does suck because some actors don't like recording from home as much.
I can
you have
understand.
to watch. That's a bummer. But I don't know. I feel like it's really, from the creative perspective, it's really freaking awesome.
Yeah, from the creative side, you have a lot more wiggle room. And
yes, exactly. I would never be in JoJo's otherwise if remote recording wasn't happening.
Yeah,
I would not be in this show. And there's so many things I wouldn't be able to do if we weren't doing remote recording.
I'm doing a lot of shows now that I feel like I wouldn't even be a part of or be considered of, because a lot of these are done not in Los Angeles. And
I lost my shit when you were cast as Satoshi.
Me too. I had no idea.
I
was like, we'd like to cast. I'm like, huh?
And
I
Higurashi.
don't even think
don't know what that is. Yeah.
I don't even think I auditioned for that. I can't remember if I did. I think it was just like,
they didn't hold auditions for Satoshi because they were like, we want Casey.
Yeah. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to be in that someday. And I'm like, oh well. And then suddenly it was like,
that's a flex.
And then when I started working on it, they're just like, we had you in mind for this character for 2.5 years. And I'm like,
wow.
No one told me anything. So I was like, whoa, cool. I got to do that from home. It depends on the project, because there's I've done a lot of games from home and a lot of anime too. And I feel like I've been doing a lot more anime in the last maybe 2 years or so like that. I did a couple of things in New York City when I lived there. I did Evangelion, Pokemon, Gundam Seed, and I kind of didn't do a whole lot of anime, just a few things. And now it's just I'm working on a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of glad I get to do a lot of it from home because
comfortable.
Some of it's nice to do. The only problem with it, and you guys can probably vouch for this too, is the connection speeds, at least in Los Angeles, suck. So we're trying to match the picture. We're not seeing things synced in time. It's really nice when you go into a studio and you just see everything right live in real time. So
And
you
just
can
not
see
having to worry
everything.
about tech
You
on
gotta
your
get
side.
that 1
Yeah.
gigabyte internet feed, guys.
Oh man.
Because like
Yeah.
when
That's true.
I'm playing Jolene, for example, it's like I'll have a line where she's just screaming, and
Yeah.
then the next line after she'll be talking normally. So we have to, if we're recording from
You
home,
have to tune the
just
game,
constantly be changing our
I see
levels
that.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough because it won't match, and you have to.
Yeah.
The engineers are amazing, and they'll
Yeah.
slide things over, and they can look at, okay, we'll place it, and I'm like, sorry, because it's going to be
they're
completely
wizards.
off.
Yeah, I was
Off
very
because like
impressed.
what you hear and see is going to be completely not what they see. It's going to be off by a few seconds, and that's
Yeah.
dubbing an entire show when you
Mhm.
can't, when the visuals are glitchy, the sound's a little weird,
Yep.
and nothing is nothing is like crystal clear. At least when I'm doing it, I'm
Yeah.
like, how that sound on your end? Because I can't see or hear anything. And they're like, we'll place it. Oh, it fits. I'm like, thank goodness. Moving on. Where you don't have to worry about that really when doing it in studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
For my part, I think I love the avenues that remote work has opened up. But if given the choice, 100% of the time I go into the studio because I don't have to worry about the engineering. I don't have to worry about tech issues.
Same.
The previews are on
Neighbors.
sync and everything. I just have to act. I don't have to worry about anything else. And that's my job when I
Exactly,
look
yeah.
for something. And the studios give me 100% that ability without having to worry about extraneous things. And when I'm at home, I feel a little more distracted. I feel my mind just wanders a little more than when I'm in the studio. Something about that environment just makes my mind go, you're there to work and you're doing this. Whereas when I'm at home, I'm like wondering about just random stuff happening around here.
But I
Stuff
can
like that.
with remote recording, I can work in New York in the morning, Texas in the afternoon, and LA
Yeah.
at night, and then a Korean
That's
session
true.
to top it off. Just
Yeah.
done.
It's
Like
true.
Yeah.
that's
Great to have an
that's
option.
cool.
Mhm.
One
Absolutely.
exception, if the studio's like 2 hours away, then I'm like, please let me do it from home.
That too.
Yeah,
Or
no.
it's like we just need you for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
True.
And then it's
Exactly.
like, nah, I'm not going in LA traffic for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
the hybrid model would be like my ideal, where it's kind of like, hey, if you
Yes.
want to come in, you can come in. Otherwise, if you want to do it from home, you can do it from home.
I think
Yeah.
that's where it looks like it's headed, luckily, which is, I think it's also really interesting because it allows more people to audition and stuff like that. And I'm sure that makes people more
Yeah.
excited
That's the
to voice an anime.
Absolutely.
I think it's cool because it gives up and coming actors and people aspiring to do this. It opens the door for people who want to do this.
Yeah.
It opens the door for people who want to do it and get started, and gives them more opportunities to get going.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't have to like save up a lot of money and move across the country or to another country kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives people the ability to get their feet wet in this industry without having to risk everything. For a lot of us, we're just like, well, flip a coin. Let's see what happens. We're gonna
Yeah.
pack up with $20
Yeah.
to my name, head to California, and see where that takes me. And it's good that people that are, because a lot of things are going remote, people who are really, really good and otherwise wouldn't have these opportunities are getting these opportunities now. I think that's really, really cool and
Yeah.
very, very important to the industry too, to get, all different kinds of people and, just get going.
We can finally have more British
Started.
people in anime. We
Yeah.
can finally take
More
over
British
anime.
people in anime.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to hear more British villains as well, of course.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I got distracted by my chat. Oh, gosh. Sorry. God, terrible.
Chat's fun.
I know.
Well,
They're great. They're
I've seen
great.
people say like, who would Connor voice in JoJo?
Everyone
And I'm
always
just gonna
asks
say I have a character in mind for you for part 7 and for part 8. So I got their
You do?
bases
You
covered.
do?
Don't
There
say
we
it yet.
go.
And
It'll
we all know that
probably
Kira
happen.
manifesting works.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to meet
Kira
that.
Kira
It's
knows her
your
stuff.
destiny. You got to do it.
Kira's accurate so far, so I shouldn't get my hopes up. Don't get me excited like that, Kira.
Well, it just depends. I haven't been right on for everything, but there's a couple where I'm like, okay, I'd love to see this person as this
All right.
character or this character.
Sometimes things just happen.
I think I would be the most annoying JoJo fan at that point, because then I would just go even more beyond. If you guys don't know, my whole room is literally JoJo. My whole wall is JoJo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, it's too much JoJo stuff. I do love JoJo. That's why
See,
I'm
that's
here
me.
today.
Into
We were
the
talking about
sessions.
figures.
Well, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
If you got cast in JoJo's, would you wear your JoJo suits into your sessions?
I feel like I'd have to, right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's another goal. I'd love to be able to do something with JoJo suits one day. Just be like I have been like the only one promoting them outside of Japan. I'm like, guys, everyone needs to own a JoJo suit. You need to get one. They're really fly. They're amazing. The junxeno one is so good. Yeah,
You have to link me that.
There's JoJo suits in Japan where they made suits for Golden Wind Part 5. So they made a junxeno suit, a Bucciarati suit. Who else did they do? They had like variations, and then for
because Part 5 wasn't out yet, was it? When we went to Japan last?
it might have been just after you guys went, because they came out in 2019. Very
That's when
very
we were
early.
there.
Late 2019,
Oh,
maybe.
because
Yeah, we were
we
there
were at the
late
end of 2019. But
Oh yeah, they might have been out by then.
if we saw that like someone walking around, I'd just be like,
Well, the good thing about the suits is they don't look like
All right.
JoJo, but inside there's a bunch of
Oh.
JoJo little hints and stuff. So there's also Part 4 suits as well, like Kira, Rohan, and Josuke. Yeah, there's
That's
just
pretty
so
cool.
much interesting merch. Yeah. I've got like all the ties as well, and all the tie pins, cufflings, and stuff. It's completely extra. It's so over the top. There's a
love
lot of
extra.
JoJo merch,
Extra is the best.
and the JoJo
Nice.
watch as well, which I think I remember. Oh, who had one? One of the other voice actors for JoJo had one. I forgot which one it was. I'll have to remember. I'll remember. But yeah, no, other than JoJo drip, which is one of the most iconic parts of JoJo, which is the fashion, obviously. Was there any kind of... Oh, stop flexing. Oh my God, no, sorry. Callan, that was it, Callan. Oh my God. Callan had one. Does chat have
Callan,
any questions
calling off.
as well that they'd like me to ask? Because I don't mind asking any of chat's questions. Is there anything about because you've only done the first 12 episodes, right? So far.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any moments in specific that you are specifically excited to voice for that you know are upcoming? I'll put spoiler alert so that the chat can tune out for a bit.
Oh boy.
I mean, I'll keep it as like spoiler free
Yeah,
as possible.
don't
Heavy
go into
weather.
anything past 12 because
Well-
I don't even know what happens.
No, heavy weather because people won't know what that is.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good section.
I
Man,
know that
can't-
there's a lot coming in the next part, so I'm just excited to do more in general.
Yeah,
I'm just-
personally, I'm really excited for the whole story arc with Hermes, and we learn a little bit more about her past and her relationship to her sister. I think that would be a very interesting acting challenge.
Yeah, I'm also excited because Poochie definitely has a lot of backstory, and I'm curious to because that's gonna be a younger Poochie, if you will, with a different mindset, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like playing that version of Poochie versus the current version of Poochie. And I can't wait for Gravity. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say.
Oh yeah.
that's such a good section. I love that part. I love Bohemian Rhapsody as well. I love that section.
Ah,
I'll be so interested to see how they handle the copyright. with the
I
ending.
do not
Right?
know how they are going to do that. There's no way they could do
Yeah.
it in its current state.
yeah, man.
That is going to
'cause
be
the names
very
of the-
interesting.
Oh, the
Well, 'cause
names
the
and
characters
stuff. Yeah.
themselves.
Oh,
Yep.
right. Well,
It's
they'll get
all
creative,
like
I'm sure.
Disney IP, and we all know that Disney is very
Oh,
friendly
right.
towards
Yeah.
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
their
That whole
IP.
thing.
Oh gosh. No, Mickey Mouse, Pepe said. Yeah, right. Chat.
Yeah, like that whole iconic scene with Anasui in the car. Like, what are they gonna do?
I don't know. I genuinely am curious. I think this is going to be the only time we'll maybe see some difference in like the actual anime to the Japanese. To the original manga. I
That's
think
a
it
good-
might have to be different.
Hermes said
Spectacle.
Bugs Bunny's birthday and not Mickey Mouse's birthday.
There's a
No.
comment in
Yeah,
the
that's
chat.
switched
There's
over.
a comment in the chat
Oh.
saying they're going to switch it for Warner Brothers characters. I
Are
can
they-
see that.
are they
They
really?
already did it. Yeah.
They did
kinda
it. They
did,
did
right?
it once
They did
already.
it already.
No
Yeah.
way.
Because they own the
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah,
Oh,
when,
right, it's Warner
when
Brothers.
she's like trying to figure out like if she's okay, and she's like, instead of going Mickey Mouse's birthday is this, she's like Bugs
Bugs
Bunny's
Bunny,
birthday
right?
is
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yo, that whole
no
scene, man.
way.
Oh
That
my
makes so
God.
much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was
Wow.
even something in part 2 with like Joseph reading a comic and they had to change it for the anime.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember we had a trivia question like that on one of our panels.
Oh wow. I didn't know.
Oh, I
any of this.
remember. Was that ALA, I think?
Yeah, Big Chungus for
Big
part
Chungus
6.
for
Yes,
part
please.
6.
Big Chungus for
Yeah, I don't know.
parts.
Hold him all right.
Oh God! I saw the chest, and I'm sure they're all dying to know this one. Do you guys have a favorite JoJo meme? I think I've asked this previously, but chat always wants to know what your favorite JoJo memes are. There's so many. I know this is the tough one. This is.
Let's see.
Should I go first?
Go, Kira.
first.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead. You already know,
please.
right?
Okay, well, I have a couple. I mean, It Just Works is such a classic one, and I
Yeah.
love that it was actually acknowledged at one point by the guitarist from King Crimson on his Facebook page.
Oh wow.
And then everything related to Dwayne memes is just top tier.
Yeah, Dwayne was like a mistranslation in one of the comics for people who don't know, and yeah, one of the fan translations, and it just for some reason became a huge meme.
Yep, I'm always like, you always know like who some of the
OG.
more old school JoJo fans are if they had to read Dwayne, because that was all that was available.
Big Chungus is my favorite meme.
Yes.
Oh God, it might be canonical soon to JoJo.
It might have.
Go ahead, Young.
Part 3 has a lot of memeable moments. One meme that I just use a lot is the yes.
Same. I love that
yeah.
one.
I love that one, and I mean just the oh my God,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
just that's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
the.
God.
I feel like that was a huge influence in getting me into JoJo. That was like, oh, so this is what this show's about. It just doesn't care. It just like goes all in on its ridiculousness, and I just it's such an unapologetic show in the best way, and I just love that.
Honorable mention. Kakyoin's Rero Rero Rero.
True.
Oh man,
Yeah,
of course.
that one's
True.
great too.
That one's pretty cool. Someone made a remix of it, I think.
I'm sure there's remixes of like everything, and the raised as well.
I wonder if Poochie, because Poochie has a moment where he's like taking 2 cherries and like picking out the meat and leaving the seeds or something. Was that? I don't know. What is it? Is cherry just like another Iraqi thing, or because that came out of nowhere?
I think you can't.
Was that something in like another part or something?
I just wondered if it was kind of a throwback to the Kakyoin thing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I was thinking.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know, but him and cherries and mouths, Iraqi just seems to be into that. So, all right, why not?
He knows what he likes, you know, and he's unapologetic about it.
Hey.
What about you, Brittany?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the no and yes.
And yes.
That's really good as well.
When we were gonna get together, we did a little cast viewing party, and I remember typing in one of our group chats like redacted no meme instead of actually sending it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I like that one. But in Akudama Drive, DC Douglas plays one of the villains named Execution Master, because they're all like not actually named people, and he asked if we could put in a JoJo's reference when Executioner slices my character in half. And we changed it to like another one down to anher one bites the dust. And he was like really excited about putting that in there.
It's
and
just
Matt
let
and I
me
were
do
like,
it,
yeah,
please.
JoJo references.
Oh, I
That's what
see
it's
Fall Off
proud
Your
of.
Horse mentioned in the chat. I love Fall Off Your Horse as well.
Part 5 had that moment that I still don't get why it happened when they start dancing while they're torturing the guy.
Yeah,
Why did they
that's
just
a good
start
one.
dancing out of the?
No one knows.
I couldn't tell if that was a power. They just like we can just do this because we feel like it. Yeah, it's probably the latter. That's JoJo.
Yeah.
There's so many good memes that I love. I love the John Nose theme that just became a meme. That was great. That was good to see.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't someone do the countdown to the new year to Jorno's theme? Like
Yeah.
they started it at just the right time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
That was awesome.
It was timed perfectly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and the random dude in Part 5 just getting beat up.
I love that
That's
one.
a classic.
That's so good. And there's also, oh god, there's so many funny ones. Oh, I love them. There's like, I know that the Joseph at the airport screaming, "I'll never forgive the Japanese" became a really popular meme as well. That became a really big meme. We all love Joseph though, especially old man Joseph. He's so much funnier.
Joseph. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people asking about equipment, actually. Yeah, I saw someone who said earlier in the chat, and I think this is, I'm sure you guys can clear this up. They said that sometimes you would be sent a booth or you would build your own booth. And I believe you got, when you want a booth at home, you have to just figure it out yourself, right? The studios aren't going to help you. They don't, it's not their job.
Right. Yeah, you're on your own.
Oh man,
Right.
can I offer advice to people that are looking to do this, because this helped me like a ton.
Yeah.
If you really want to get equipment and you're on a tight budget and you can't get everything right away, go on Facebook Marketplace. Here's why. If you have your payment information tied into Facebook, you can pay for things through Facebook Marketplace. It'll close the invoice saying that you paid in the chat where you're doing like the business transaction, and it will show in the chat that you paid for it. So in case somebody is like, or whatever, and you got to fight for your money back, you can print that out and take it to court. Another thing too is if you were to ever get audited, God forbid, you have that as proof that it was actually a work purchase, because it counts as a closed invoice. In addition, everything I own is used. Everything from my mic to my preamp to my booth. My booth is a little beat up, but it gets the job done. I recorded everything out of here for like 2 years, so it works. But you can find a used vocal booth pretty cheaply. You can also refit your closet. I know a lot of people working out of closets right now, big walk-in closets. But like vocal booths, you can get those on Facebook Marketplace too. You just got to really shop around for a good deal. But yeah, if you can get used equipment, the only thing I would not get used is an interface, because that will actually wear down with time. If you can get like a cheap interface brand new, but get a really good preamp, then you're good to go.
Young, did you say that you were in the closet when you record this stuff?
Yeah, I have literally right next to me this walk-in closet, and I just bought a bunch of acoustic foam. Have them kind of all over the walls and the ceilings, and
it works.
Some blankets here and there, and then a stand, a mic. Like, it's pretty like put together. It's not nothing fancy, and you really don't need anything fancy. I've done JoJo there, all kinds of professional productions and auditions. You don't need to break the bank to make
about
an
half the
adequate sound
people
studio.
in Akudama Drive and Kemono Jihen were recording out of closet booths.
I know that.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who records for Family Guy and American Dad does it out of his closet, and when he sent me a photo of what it looks like, I'm like, your soundproofing is shirts, t-shirt.
It works,
and I guess it works. And I'm like, okay, like that goes to show that engineers and editors are really freaking good at their job. They can put all that stuff together.
I was lucky. I bought a booth before the pandemic ever happened. I bought this in like 2018, I think. So thankfully I was like prepared, because, I did a lot of work with like indie devs and with international clients and stuff where I had to record from home for them. So, I just needed that as like a business investment beforehand.
Yeah, I also had my booth before the pandemic. I've had it since 2016 ish. So I had all the equipment already.
Is that like a standard voiceover booth, or is it just a generic booth and you add the foam or something yourself? How does it?
I have a whisper room, and studio bricks are also really popular.
I've heard of studio bricks.
Vocal booths are another popular one. Booth. There's also LA vocal booth, which is different.
Oh yeah, LA vocal booth is pretty legit.
And yeah, but I have a whisper room, but the studio bricks are really cool because they're like adult Legos. They're like
I've seen that.
And you stack them. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, those are so cool.
But they were not like popular back when I bought my booth. So I have a whisper room that we added additional soundproofing treatment to, and Dr. Stone hug pillows that hang out there for sound absorption.
I had a friend of mine who was recording for some shows, but he didn't have his booth yet, so he stacked like a bunch of cardboard boxes and then just put a bunch of blankets over them and was inside this blanket. And it worked, but I mean, I can't imagine the temperature was nice in that like blanket fort.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's something that you can't really account for or do anything about. But I did see a question actually that would be interesting to know. How did everybody get started in voiceover here? I'm sure a lot of people in the chat would like to know how you guys got into it, and I guess how they can try and do it as well.
Oh boy.
Oh,
who would like to start? Anyone.
I can start if you guys want, because mine is
kind of a an unconventional conventional path.
Sure.
So I went and I studied theater in college. I have a degree in acting and directing from Binghamton University. However, one of the things that they required us to do was to take Linklater voice just to get the degree. You had to take it to graduate, right? So I was like getting auditions because I was in the voice acting club. So the first step to wanting to be a voice actor, thank you, Kira, is to just be a voice actor. Like, go to a voice acting club, find things that appeal to you, and then get training. And while you're training, not after, but while you're doing it, experiment on those auditions. Because let me tell you, those indie auditions are so low stakes compared to the really big stuff you're going to get later. If you're persistent, you might as well just use that as an incubator to play around, try new things, and don't be scared. It's very low stakes compared to a lot of other things that you will eventually get access to if you're persistent. And if you're comfortable with the idea of playing, you can keep doing it. And I was booking indie games out of my dorm because of the voice acting club. And by the time I graduated college, I had a voiceover career. And that's how that happened. It was because I got the training, which you absolutely need the training, but I was thinking of what I was already doing and applying it to a place where I could just have fun and not have to worry about making rent or anything like that. Now I do, but it was different back then, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Young?
It's like I've been acting since junior year of high school. Really, that's when I like auditioned for my first musical, and that's when I really fell in love with this whole acting thing. This like communal effort towards telling a story that then the audience can take and like be influenced by it in some way or find entertainment from it. Like I just love that whole dynamic. And so, it's important to keep in mind, like I came to LA roughly 2 years ago, a little 2.5 years ago, but my acting journey didn't start then. It's the whole like preparation meets opportunity kind of deal where like I acted enough where I felt confident to pursue this. And the thing that I think got me in the door was one of the voiceover classes that I took. It was like an introductory class, and I was doing some stuff there. And one of the teachers noticed, like, "Hey, I don't think you belong in the intro class. I think you could actually like really do this." And they kind of like referred me to a roster, and I got in that way. And so like the first and foremost thing you have to keep in mind is like you got to be a good actor. Like that's ultimately what's going to get you the jobs. And so if there are no shortcuts on that front. You have to work on the craft, the training, all those things. You have to do it like, and the best way to learn how to act is to act. It's like, if you want to learn how to play guitar, pick up a guitar and start messing around, start playing a little bit, do it as a hobby. You don't have to make money off of it or put too much pressure. Just do it for fun. And that's how I did it for about 2 years before I moved to LA. I just did some casual VA for free, just free projects, mods, game mods, you name it. And, just to see if I like actually enjoy this particular form of acting. And I freaking loved it. So I'm like, all right, my YouTube channel is a good place now. And so like I planned things out, made sure I was in a good position to move to LA. And and since then I just kind of kicked off running, got my demo reels done. And the demo reels you want to get done only when you feel you're prepared, because they're kind of like your business card. Like this is what's going to maybe get you in rosters, and you want to put your best foot forward instead of making a bad impression early on. And, and so I think just planning and preparation and loving the craft. And so doing it for a while before even getting started with this, just all of that preparation allowed me to find those opportunities and be ready to seize them. So that's kind of say how my path went.
Yeah, very, very concise.
Mine's sort of similar to Young's. It was when I was in high school and I was just kind of like making my own video game mods. And I'm like, wow, these kind of suck without voices. And my brother's a musician. So I had a condenser microphone, an AT3035 with a preamp back when I was like 15 years old, 16. And I just started kind of like doing my own stuff for fun, I'd record stuff without, I never had any like classes, which, I never had the money for any of that stuff. I never had the money for anything to be professionally made, nothing. I did everything myself. And that helped a lot because like you might, for anyone listening that might want to dabble in this stuff, you don't have to have a lot of money to kind of dabble in this stuff. You can do, like Young said, video game mods for free, and I did that too. And just to kind of get a feel for it and see if you even enjoy doing it. I didn't have money to put this stuff together. Nowadays, people might say, you need a $3,000 demo, and you need to take these classes from the best person, and it's this person. It costs several hundreds of thousands, whatever. And I'm looking out there going, no, at least not me. Like, that's not my path. Because I did my own stuff. I did my own projects, my own video game mods. The only reason I'm really in Los Angeles doing this full time is about 5 or 6 years ago, I made a Fallout 4 mod called WRVR, and someone took note of that, and I didn't have any money to move out here. I wanted to move to Los Angeles for many years. And this was a fan who really liked what I made and said, why aren't you doing this in LA full time?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any money to move across the country, but I appreciate your kind words. And he was like, what's your PayPal? And he just gave me some money to get started to move out here. And I'm like, what? And that's honestly how I got out here, is because of a mod. Someone was kind enough to be like, no problem. Here's some money. Get started. Go move out. Go move out. Go change your life. I'm like, what? And that's kind of how it was for me. It's very strange. But because of that, I'm doing this full time. And
yeah,
that is insane.
And then you were Shinji.
And then I was Shinji.
That's crazy. What an unexpected route to get there. But damn, that's interesting.
So it's so not how people typically say, like, oh, you have to do this and that. Mine is such a weird way I got started professionally. You know, anyone can do this for funsies, have some equipment, have fun. I didn't have money for classes.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was homeless, like 12, 11 years ago, something like that. So when I was like, really like, I want to do this, I have not even a place to live, you know? And it's like, okay, cool, great. So what I would do was, once I was living with a friend for a bit, and she was kind enough to let me live with her. She was like, don't give up on this stuff. It's really cool and you're really good at it. I'm like, nah. But what I would do is just kind of play a lot of video games where the voice acting is really good. And I think that's how I learned to pick up on what is really freaking good and what's not. And the games, I play a lot of video games, so I'm exposed to tens of thousands of hours, like Fallout games, Elder Scrolls,
Elder Scrolls is some
Red
unique
Dead
dialogue.
Redemption, stuff like that, and where the scenes are just so good, and you're just like, how did they do that? I'm also a game hacker, so I'll pull these things apart and go, how did they do this? And I just will extract the audio, and I listen to it over and over going, oh my God. I kind of get it, because I'm just kind of learning by example, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that
So
makes
when you
sense.
do it that way, you can kind of just learn at your own pace, and just kind of, that's the way that I've been able to understand how these scenes work, was seeing how it gets put into the game, how it's put together in layers, and you get to really just analyze it. And when you have pretty much nothing going on in life, you know, you just, it's an interest, and you're curious, and it gets the better of you, and you just listen and listen and listen. And I think that is how I learned a lot of the stuff without any classes, because I was learning just in a very different sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about you, Kira?
Oh, wow. So kind of like the short answer I tell everyone is I just did stuff on the internet for years and years. You know, I think a lot of people kind of assume there's like one traditional way to get in, and it's really just kind of about everyone's individual journey and path. So, you know, for me, it's like Flash animations were really big back when I was getting started. You know, I'm probably showing my age here, but YouTube and things like that, were like really a thing when I first started. So, you know, I would just do like, I would email animators and be like, hey, do you need a voice for your Flash animation? Because a lot of times they just do the voices themselves or use like a text-to-speech voice or something. So, you know, I would just kind of like, I made a crappy demo and was like, hey, like I do this kind of stuff. We actually met years and years ago on like a voice acting forum online. And then I started a voice acting forum, voice acting club, which is now like a Discord server. But yeah, so just getting involved in online stuff. Obviously like Flash animations are not like as much of a thing anymore, but there's like indie games, and a lot of indie games like pay now. A lot of like content is monetized and things like that. But just get involved in like the hobby scene, because that way it's low. Like as Tiana mentioned earlier, you don't need like a huge initial investment on equipment and things like that. As long as you have something decent, even like streaming equipment a lot of times is okay for like free projects. And then of course the big one is learning to act. You don't necessarily have to do like theater or something if that's not your thing. That wasn't my thing personally, but the ultimate thing that it comes down to is, can you portray the character believably? There's so much emphasis put on voice and, what does my voice sound like, and can I sound like this character? And sure, voice print matters in terms of where people are placed in a cast and things like that, but like if you listen to me, like I sound like a normal person when I'm talking. I don't sound like Jolene, right? I
you kind of sound like an anime character, but that's okay.
Maybe,
it's like it's different, like that versus if I dropped into the yada yada dawa or something like that. But it's just like you can train your voice to do whatever, but the acting is what's going to get you cast for the role above most other things.
Facts. Really.
Yeah.
Like everyone I know who's like,
so classes are ideal, but if you don't have the money for classes, there are free resources online. You can even watch YouTube videos from like reputable teachers and things like that, and just study acting technique the best you can.
It's about the acting, not the voice.
Yeah, to kind of like highlight that, the voice that I use for Pale Snake, the character I keep in mind for that is Patrick Star. It's kind of a more rounder McQueen, but like the performance is what separates Patrick Star.
I'm not going to be able to
Pale
watch
Snake,
it.
but like
I'm
the
not gonna be able to
vocal
watch
reference that I start from before like tuning it to Whitesnake is Patrick Star.
Someone's
like
got to clip
his
that.
voice for like creepyfied and made a little more, So like that goes to show like voice is one thing, but you can.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, there are many times where I've like used a similar voice profile, but the characters feel vastly different because they just they behave differently. They're just different people,
funny.
and so you gotta if you can show that.
This is now
you're a good
canonically
actor.
tied Patrick Star to the JoJo universe. I think
I just made him a whole lot less intimidating.
yeah, I think so. I think you did.
Just like that.
What about you, Brittany?
I wanted to act since I was really young.
Oh.
And I had taken like these acting classes for a while when I was in like middle school and late elementary school. And one of them culminated in a showcase in front of like casting directors and agents.
Right.
I grew up in New York, so New York City was very accessible to me. And so we went into New York City and we did this thing, and you're all supposed to get feedback. And my feedback was about how I had glasses and braces, which was incredibly demotivating to child Brittany.
Why would they do that?
Because I don't know. Because they hate children, Tiana.
Guys, hate seeing these kids.
So that was really depressing. And like everyone else is like going up and doing their like cutesy kid monologue. And I show up and I do a monologue from The Crucible. So yeah. So that like colored my like perception of myself for a while. But then I realized, and I always loved anime and games and animation. I realized that that's a career. And I started looking into that, and I found forums online, and Facebook was just getting popular around then, and I found like Facebook groups and stuff and communities. And I just started joining any sort of community online that I could find, and different like forums and stuff. And connected with a lot of people, and was like trying to like put my voice out there and made friends. Skype was really popular at the time. There was so many like Skype group chats with people, like, we would just like talk or read scripts together or whatever. I actually have a recording when I was younger, when I was about 15, 16, of me impersonating Satoko from Higurashi, the Japanese Satoko from Higurashi, and now I play Satoko in Higurashi. And it's like, I put it on Twitter, I think, and it was just me doing the oh ho ho laugh as a 15-year-old, and then me in the actual show doing her laugh. Yeah, it was a relic that I'd unearthed. but I really wanted to do that, and I found forums online, and there was a paid gig once that was a rarity back in those days, and I auditioned for it, and it was some game, and I got it, and I got paid $100, which was big for 15-year-old Brittany, and that's when I was like, I want to do this. So I really tried to like learn a bunch of stuff, and I've watched and played games and watched anime and watched animation, but my parents wanted me to go to college, so I went to college still, but I got a degree in something totally unrelated, and I used all my AP credits, and I got out of college in 2 years, and I was doing voiceover like the entire time while I was in college, and then I got out of college and I just started like hitting the New York scene. And before I graduated college, I had gotten in my first anime. When I graduated college, I got my first directing job. And then just kind of all came together from there. And by came together, I mean I was really persistent, and I kept knocking down people's doors, like the guy who runs Media Blasters, being like, "Let me dub your stuff," until they finally cracked and said yes.
Is that always a good approach to
no,
nag them?
no,
I feel like
not.
I don't know.
I don't know how he said yes, but he did. I think it was because I don't know. My theory on it has always been like, I was this young girl who was really passionate, and I was around his daughter's age, and like I think he just was like, "Fuck it, go ahead. What's the worst it can do?"
So not official advice to go and.
Yeah, so not necessarily an official advice, but what is official advice that I did do was like finding things online. I remember auditioning for Honey Pop, which I booked. If you remember Honey Pop, I'm Audrey, and that was like really big for me back in the day. And I took a lot of classes. I remember my 18th birthday, I asked my parents to take at the time there weren't a ton of classes when we were all younger, like, and trying to get into it. I asked them to take an Adventures in Voice Acting workshop with Tony Oliver, who directed JoJo's, and I remember taking that class, and he pulled me aside and was like, "You are really talented, and you should be doing this." But I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm like a kid, like not in LA.
How old were you when you took that class?
18.
Okay.
It was my 18th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Because my parents gave it to me as a gift for my 18th birthday. Yeah.
That's cool.
Matt and I took it together. Matt's my husband.
Oh.
We've known each other since high school. So I got really fortunate that I booked stuff in college, like my first anime, and just kind of hit the ground. And a lot of it was networking. Like I got a lot of the auditions I got because I knew people, and they were willing to take a chance on me. Like my first Funimation audition was when I was in college. And I knew the director from doing an event with them, and I gave them my demo reel, and they were like, "You're really good. Here's an audition." And I remember he wrote back to me and was like, "Hey, like your auditions were really great. Just didn't make sense because you're in New York and we're in Texas, but like please keep in touch." And when I moved down to Texas, the week I moved down, he cast me in my first in studio at Funimation thing. Mm-hmm. Well, he also cast me when I visited too. So he was like the first person I worked with there in general. So yeah, just a lot of persistency. And now I think this month I have done 5 or 6 classes that I've taken. Like I take classes all the time still. And that's a great way to one, meet people who are doing the decision making. 2, show them what you can do. Mm-hmm. If you are at the competitive stage, or 3, get them to tell you what you could be doing better so you can be at the competitive stage.
Exactly.
Right now I'm trying to conquer the commercial scene. I have a very bright voice that I don't really feel lends itself to commercials, and I've told myself this year I'm going to work on that, and I've been working on it a lot. I have multiple commercial based classes right now, and I'm like, that is my goal. I'm going to get better at this. So yeah, a lot of it is grilling yourself on what you can do better, self-critiquing yourself, and then putting yourself through the ringer so you can improve. And nowadays there's so many online classes that are really, really affordable. I'm taking 3 classes next month, and all of them were $50 each.
Oh.
Nice.
Do you have any recommendations for people who might want to start?
That's very good.
Yeah, so Ace Studios has a yearly fee, but all of their classes are really affordable. They're like $50, $55 each. And they go up on the 15th of every month. If you go there now, all of them are going to be sold out because they go up on the 15th of every month and everyone gobbles them up. And they're kind of like bigger classes. So like you're in a class of more like 15, 20 people and you only get a few minutes on mic with the guest director or the guest speaker. But you get all of the information that they're giving to everyone else in the class, and that's super valuable. And then the VO Pros is another great website. I took a class with them earlier this month. Their price range is between like 100, 200 per a class. The Help Network, spelled HALP. They have a lot of great classes. I'm in a 4-week class with them now, and I think it cost me $400. And it's a pretty small class size too. I think there's 6 of us in the class, and it's been really great so far. Really enjoying it. The VO Dojo is a place I take classes from all the time, and I also teach at. Yeah, and they're really cool. And their whole thing is like you do basically a mock audition, and you get critique, and then you hear who the host of the class would actually call back or book from everyone in the class, and that's really interesting. I'm trying to think. There's so many places I've done classes at, and I'm like, I'll make sure that I say them because, like, they're good values and I know how they work.
Adventures in voice acting. If you want to learn about ADR and anime,
they have a lot of different classes too. They have anime-based ones. They have like prelay ones, or like this is how you get out of your head. I took a really great Kel-El class with them. Kel-El is a director.
Yeah,
he's very
such an amazing director. And I've taken multiple classes with him now, and it's so good. And Adventures in Voice Acting offers classes with him. Do you guys have any other recommendations? I'm trying to like wrap.
Oh heck yeah, I do.
No, you're hitting some good ones.
So for people that are looking to get into commercials, and because he's offering online classes now, the last time I checked, my commercial VO coach was Paul Liberty, and he is considered one of the best in the business. A lot of his principles definitely still work. I use everything he's taught me every single time I do a commercial audition, because it's like, okay, I don't have to be in my head because I got the training. And honestly, I book commercials at least a couple times a year, and his stuff is also helpful for promo work because I am also the voice of the Fuse Network. So there's also that too. His principles I've applied to both commercial and promo, and it's fantastic.
He teaches a lot of Actors Connection.
He's at Actors Connection, yes. Actors Connection is great.
And they're super affordable classes. I took them when I was still living in New York, and I really like them.
They have a branch in LA, but I think all of the coaches that I worked with are in New York, but now they're offering things remote because of the Rona. So, yeah. So I would recommend Paula Birdie. I have not taken classes with Richard Horvitz, but every single person that has nothing but nice things to say from what I know.
I have taken a class with him. He's great.
Oh, perfect.
I would recommend.
A question directed at Yong. I'm curious about this because you obviously were quite well known for your YouTube stuff before you announced this role. How was it when you announced it? Were people a bit weird about it? Did they say anything?
Yeah. I remember the day I released the video where I announced I was moving to LA to pursue voice acting, and I didn't know how people would, perceive that. Because with YouTubers, unfortunately, people have a tendency to see them as just YouTubers, like they can't do anything else. They don't have other hobbies or a life or whatever. They're just a YouTuber. And so, and when I speak in my videos, I tend to be a lot more kind of flat. I don't tend to like emote as much as I do with my voice acting endeavor. So people are like, man, I don't know, dude. Like I'm used to hearing you in your, YouTube voice, and it doesn't sound like you have much of a range. So there was definitely a lot of skepticism from some of the fans, but a lot of people were just like, dude, chase your dreams, go for it. The majority of my community are just, they've been incredibly supportive of all of this. And then, once I started getting some work and like starting to show people some of the work that I've done, people are like, oh man, okay, like you got something here.
Yeah.
And now people like really seem to be, rooting for me and believing that I can actually make it. And once the JoJo announcement came out, like the community like really freaked out. Like it's bizarre to see like this guy I've been watching for however many years all of a sudden be in freaking JoJo and like play the main villain and all these things. And I'm in equal levels of, disbelief. But yeah, there's definitely some trepidation initially.
Yeah.
I think now that people are seeing that I'm like actually kind of like doing it, a lot of people like felt they were inspired by that, which is really great to hear, and I think if you have sort of an itch or a dream, you should like, just look into it, like lean into it a little bit, see what happens, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kind of stigmas aside of like, oh, you're a YouTuber and you probably got these roles because you use your influencer status to somehow, I don't know, like I'm like that's just not how it works.
Like we all have to audition for these roles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's
That's the
so
thing.
many instances where clients and stuff have to go and review them, and they don't always get the names, and they're just listening for voice. So
Yeah, that's the thing.
I was
I
really
feel like
worried
so
about
far I've earned every role that I've gotten. And I don't say that from a place of, cockiness. It's just, I feel like I did put the work in, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this. And now, generally though, like, my community's just they've been rooting for me, and I'm really grateful. Like that's like motivated me a lot. Like if young folks are watching this right now, know that it's meant more than like that level of encouragement. Like my parents don't know much about voice acting in that realm and all that stuff, so they kind of, it's hard for me to talk to them about it and have them be like, oh my god, go for it, because they're so unfamiliar with what I do and whatnot. And so to have like that community to really be the cheerleaders, if you will, was it meant more than you guys know.
I know what you mean.
Just want to put that out there.
Having support is so important.
Yeah,
yeah,
it really is. And I know there's plenty of negative elements to social media and whatnot, and for sure that's out there, but there's also a lot of positivity, I think, that isn't being highlighted enough. And anytime I announce something, people just like rally and support, and like that it reminds you like, oh yeah, like you're having an impact, like people are seeing your work and it's like it's resonating with people. It's not just in a vacuum. Especially during COVID, I feel like it's so easy to feel like you're just in this little bubble, and even making content, sometimes I feel like I'm speaking to the void. But then like there are times when I go out, like went to Anime Impulse recently, and a handful of people are like, hey, I love your channel, or I love what you did with Pooch. It's like, oh yeah, right. I like, people are looking at this stuff, watching this, and like are being impacted by this, and that being reminded of that is really nice.
I wonder. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say quickly, like, we do really appreciate those comments because, there's a lot of negativity, which obviously we ignore and avoid and stuff like that. But, it's like, I know, for example, when I announced Jolene, like, I got a lot of really amazing comments, but I also got some not so nice comments. And, it's kind of, it like hurts to read because, I'm a person at the end of the day, and this is a character in a franchise that's extremely important to me personally. And so, it just, for every like person who said something nice, that really meant a lot to read.
Yeah. For sure.
Unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier online with reading this stuff. It kind of sucks that the only solution is just get used to it. You can
grow thicker skin for it, but you never fully get used to it, and it sucks. Is like for every 1,000 positive comment, there's that one negative that sticks out for some reason, even though it shouldn't given.
Why do they?
I know, right?
What did I do? Why do they hate me?
And you think like, you look at that one comment, you think, oh, so many people think this way, and so many people hate me, but it's like it's a vocal minority, and like that's the important thing to remember.
It really is
vocal minority for sure.
Like sometimes people get ratioed too, so that also for saying things that aren't nice about you.
Yeah,
which,
those like those unconstructive negative comments are as relevant as we make them, because they're just there sitting in the void. Nobody really is paying any attention to them, but then if we bring them out and start like spotlighting these and paying too much attention to them, I feel like that's where we kind of start going into the spiral. And having done YouTube, especially for all these years, that's definitely helped me thicken up for some of the potential negative comments, or even the audition process. Getting rejected is nothing compared to YouTube comments.
Right.
So, thanks for the training, YouTube.
I was gonna say
But
that's gotta like prepare you so much,
yes,
young for that.
absolutely.
It's just
We're just jaded.
Yeah, it can
Just-
wear you out from time to time.
yeah.
But once you get into the mentality of right, the vast majority of my community are rooting for me,
Oh.
and you
Yeah.
just like focus on that, it gets easier, but it never goes away. The feeling of like, oh, come on, dude, why you got to be a dick like that?
Yeah, you got like 99% awesome stuff. There's no 1% ass.
Yeah,
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's just like, but
yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's like whatever. And you just think about how much this stuff means to so many people, and it's like
Yeah.
that's the good stuff. And the people,
Exactly.
the funny thing I noticed is the people who talk the most crap about what we do and our performances, whatever, always have like aspiring voice actor in their bio. And it's like, you sure you want to be? You sure about this? Like,
It's a very
It's,
dangerous
it's
game.
so common.
yeah.
yeah. No, the voiceover community is tighter than people think. Like, if word will spread about you if you're an aspiring voice actor and you're out there just dissing other
Oh,
voice
yeah.
actors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're gonna
'cause
put
you're
yourself
gonna
in a
have to
precarious
work
situation.
with us.
Yep.
You
So
can't be
Yeah.
doing that to people you don't know, and then you're both auditioning for the same thing. Or what if they end up being a director,
Oh.
and then you have to be directed by them? You're just gonna
Mhm.
make the whole experience awkward if you do
Little
that.
bit.
So don't do that.
yeah.
Is
I think
it
it's also
sure.
very easy. Oh,
Okay,
go
no,
ahead.
Kira, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like it's very easy to sit on the sidelines, if you want to do this and say like, oh well, I could do better than this person did or whatever. But like, what they're not seeing is just working under the typical constraints of production timelines, dubbing
Yeah.
where you have to match everything to picture. So sometimes, you can't read the line the exact way you want it because you have to slow it down to fit the melt, things like that. Like the animation is what it is and you have to match it. So I think people don't always realize, a lot of times like we are seeing the script for the first time when we go in the booth, like
Yeah.
there's
Oh, yeah.
all these things.
Yeah, we don't get
Oh,
sent
yeah.
anything early. We don't.
No.
I get
Yeah.
asked that all the time. So how long does it take you to like get familiar with your lines? I'm like, what are you talking? I don't even know what I'm recording for 99% of the
Yeah,
time.
we
We
So
don't
don't
have
do
the other
that.
actors to play off
Yeah.
of.
I just did a game where I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm like, so what are we doing today? And it's like, oh well, I got you in for like 3 characters. One's this girl, one's a little boy, and one's a dwarf. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
I have no idea what characters I'm playing. None of us really do when we go in
Yeah.
for this stuff. Especially when we just get brought in for things we don't even audition for. Like, you've been requested. Cool, great. And that happens a lot. What are we doing? Can't tell you. We have no idea. And you can ask the studios too. Do you know what this is? Not a clue. So you go in there and you just do it. And it's work. It's fun,
Yeah.
but it's not easy to do because you have to come up with these things on the fly. It's not like, here's the kind of voice we want you to do. We wanted to. No, it's just like, here's the character description. This is like a young character who blah, 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 has this kind of a sort of backstory. And here's your first line, go.
And you're not hearing the
Yeah,
other
noticed that.
performances that you're playing off of most of the time. Sometimes in a dub, if they were in before you, like once in a while, say like Tiana would have recorded before me. So sometimes
Yeah.
I get to hear a little bit of her lines in the preview, but
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
not like, a play or like a on camera or something where you're like playing off each other.
Very
Yeah.
rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
Because and anything I've done where they have, when it's not anime and they have played the other actors, like it's a whole trip for the engineer to set it up that way. So like shout out to them when they do
Yeah.
that because it's
Yep.
awesome, but it's so hard.
Yeah, it's not practical most of the time.
Yeah, and then the other thing that people forget to think about is that there's more people in the process than just the actors. Like there's certain projects that we work on where like we can't change the script at all. So if it's like awkwardly written, then it probably is going to be awkwardly performed, and we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
There's sometimes when we do work on a project and like the director has the leeway or has client permission to rearrange things and make it a little bit more natural, but there's a lot of scripts I get that are very awkward and we just have to try our best to sell it.
Yeah.
Or the director might have a totally different idea on what is natural or versus what is cartoony and direct you in a way that the actor might not agree with, but it's the director's vision and they're the ones who are kind of like running the session and telling the theme or the like how, what is
Vibe
the
or tone
the
or
vibe,
mood.
like how
Yep.
how the product is gonna sound. So there's more than just an actor making that choice.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
getting yelled at for, I can't believe they the script, the actors, how could they? I'm like,
Sometimes
really
it's
think I sat
client's
there and I wrote
choice,
it?
too.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
none of, you know what I mean? Actors don't, the
Yeah.
only time, like, if something doesn't fit, if like there's a flap or a flap short or a flap over or whatever, we're allowed to kind of come up with, be like, let's change one slight thing to kind of like make this fit. But it's not like, well, here's what the script says, I want to go to the store. I'm going to say, I want to go to the saloon because that'll be fun. It's not like, well, we don't
Like, great way to
make
not get
choices.
hired, right? If you
Yeah.
can't work efficiently.
Actors don't get that kind of, you know,
Freedom with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
right. We don't get
Yeah.
that say, and nor really
Yeah.
should we, because we're not brought on to be writers or editors in that sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes,
And it's like none of our choices on how things are pronounced or how characters' names are localized. Like I can't be like, I am not calling them this. I'm gonna say it totally differently.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, like with JoJo, it's literally, it's a copyright thing. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
control over
Yep.
that.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
With how fast the turnaround for JoJo Part 6 was, especially, like, honestly, like, I'm kind of blown away, like, how it all ultimately came together, and you know, at the quality of it. Like, I especially, like, now having done voice acting for 2 years now, like, I really do, like, get just how many gears are turning behind the scenes, and how much goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. And so it's so easy for people to just be like, oh, this is easy to do, why are they, you know, doing this and that.
Yep.
Same with like game developers. People go, it's so easy to add this feature, and they don't know how much complexity is behind just that one little thing. And so it's like, it is important to emphasize some empathy and understanding, and realizing that there's more to it than just what's on the surface level, you know?
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how OP, the engineer, is. I messed up a line and then he just fixed it. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do it
Yeah.
again, but that was really, how did you do that? That was insane. In like 2 seconds, he's like, give me a second, some computer noises, and then boom, it's fixed. I'm like, what? What?
So couple of keys. Tick, 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 tick,
Yeah, I hit a little
play back,
thing.
and it's fixed. I'm like, oh, all right. Cool.
Yeah.
Let me just do this, and then boom, it fits perfectly, and all the lip flaps are matched. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
It was really interesting getting to.
Really
how
do
was
it.
it for you, Connor, going into your first anime dubbing session?
Oh, it was strange. I don't know what I expected. Like, I expected some kind of like song and dance when I got on the call, but I got on this call and he was like 10 seconds. He's like, all right, here's the first line. Are you ready to go? And I'm like, I don't remember what I did. Because I think I auditioned like 3 months before, I think. It might have been a while.
Oh.
Yeah. I think that that we started production about a month and a half after we did the auditions, because they had to get approved.
Right. That makes sense. And I had just totally forgot about it. So when I got the role, I was really confused. I was like, oh yeah, I did read for this. But I thought I did really bad. So I thought I didn't get it. It was really fun though. And the only thing that was kind of annoying, but this can't be helped, is the, because I live in Japan, the like ping issue was like, I think it was fine-ish, but then sometimes the ping would go crazy, and I would hear the beeps, but I didn't see the mouth at all, and I was like, okay, I think I did it, and then I would just kind of read, and it would work out. But it all went really well. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Maybe because I'd done some ADR before, not exactly anime, but other stuff, so it's a little okay, but still scary. Anime is scary.
I go by the sound than picture because our connection sucks so bad. So I was just doing a show,
I gave up looking at the picture
yesterday or the day before, and you just give up. Some days it works. It's like, oh, it's kind of in sync. This is nice, because when you hear playback, and they go, okay, I fixed it. And when they play it back, if it's perfectly synced, which is really rare, when you see it synced, you go, oh, I got to savor this moment, because it's not going to happen very often. Because usually it'll be, okay, playback, it looks good for me. And then it's like, hey, what are you doing? Bop, 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 bop.
So kind of like learning the rhythm really helps.
You got to get the rhythm of the
sound.
sound. Just
the
listen
music
to the
almost,
sound, kind of like a tempo in your head. Like,
the beeps help a lot.
line is this long. And then you go, okay, that line's going to be this about long. And then you just keep that in your head, and then you do the line with that in mind, because doing it from home, it's not, for me anyway, I can't do it unless I've got, it works better for me with sound than trying to make the picture to work.
Almost,
Yeah, it was also like really low quality. I think because I don't know if it was their internet or mine, but like it was like 100p, and I was trying to look at the mouth flaps, and it was like the characters are really far in the distance, and I'm like, I think it moved. I don't know if it moved.
I think your the next 2 episodes are have a lot of your character in it.
I think so. 6 and 7, I think I remember I did it.
Yeah.
I was surprised people
think
liked
the
it. I just assume people are gonna like troll and just be like mean to me because I mean my chat is they're very nice, but they always clown on me. So a lot of people were like, I can't unsee Connor in the role because I've just done so much YouTube stuff. So it's understandable people might be like, I can't see an anime villain. I just see this idiot.
I got multiple texts from people who performed against you who were like, "Who was that?"
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh wow, I'm flattered.
Oh my god, they sound dastardly evil.
Thank you. I think it sounds great if you've never heard me before. It's like, wow, this guy sounds like he's in an anime. But then when they know me from YouTube, they're like, what a monkey, bro, what a clown. Yeah, chat is spamming monkey now. Yeah, there you see.
Yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
It's yeah, but I mean, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Although I do, and I'm sure you guys can relate. I really want to go to anime conventions again. I mean, maybe you guys can go to anime conventions now, right?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
Trepidatiously, yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I can't go to any, but I know that being, when you do voice acting or you do any entertainment, having conventions to see the audience and kind of get to know that you're not crazy and people actually care is like so refreshing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh.
It's weird. I've only done a couple of conventions like in my life. So like the one we just did, like I just did 2 like in the last month and a half or so. And I'm not used to it. I'm just used to being in this booth or a booth in a studio, isolated, like totally freaking isolated by myself. I hear the voice of the director, engineer. I don't even see anybody. I do the work. That's it. I have no idea where it goes. I have no idea how many people watch or we don't know until someone comes up to you going, I heard you in this thing and like it changed my life kind of thing. And I'm just like, really? Like just like, and people can say really nice things on social media, like I love doing this, like, oh, that's so cool, thank you so much, I'm glad you enjoyed it. But hearing like one of the cons I did, seeing hardcore Ava fans, you just see their energy, just like this, like it was so, and it's like, oh my god, your energy is like, you don't get that online. And there's I'm in Pokemon as well as a lot of characters, and one of them is Score Bunny and the entire Score Bunny Pokemon line, and Raichu as well. So there's like this little girl with her family that came in with a Score Bunny plush, and I don't think she knew because she's like really little and didn't really know that was the voice of the character. And I'm like, oh, you got a Score Bunny there. He goes, Score Bunny, and I'm just like, Score Bunny, and she's like, just the look on her face of like, how did you do that? That
so
was like
cute.
the sweetest thing I've ever. I was like, just doing something that's so that I do it so often, and it's just such a normal thing to do that stuff in the show. That reaction was just like, oh my god! Like it was just that you don't get that online really. I'm so socially awkward. I don't really like to do cons because I'm just like, oh, I'm weird. I don't know what to say ever, and it's weird to talk about this stuff. But for those moments are like, honestly, kind of make this. If you ever have a bad day, you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
You're just like, do I really want to be doing this? Not want to be doing this, but you know what I mean? You have your days where you're just kind of like, and you think of moments like that, and you're just like, yeah, that was worth it. That was like,
it's
those are
this
the
thing
defining moments.
Yeah, it's this thing that feels so normal to us because we're just kind of doing it as our job and this thing that we love. But it feels normal to us, but to people watching us from the outside, it's like to them this is like extraordinary, like that we can do this with our voices and our performances and like breathe life into these characters that they are so deeply connected to, and it's like it's easy to forget that kind of impact. And to me, like that, like Casey said, that makes it worth it. It's like realizing, oh yeah, this is having an impact. People are I'm helping somebody get through their day or whatever, it's or having them connect with somebody because a certain story of a certain character inspired them to like reach out, or like moments like that. When you get stories like that, it's like, man, it's such an honor to be able to impact people that way. And,
those are some of the best moments of my life because I didn't ever expect that as some nerd, some idiot dork that's like, I'm gonna make a video game mod and I'm gonna voice in it, yeah. And going from that to people saying like your performance, you know, got me out of a bad spot kind of thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, damn, because it's not something you normally, even if you can be told all day online, and which is always really cool to be like, I loved you in this, you sounded great in this. That's like, awesome, thank you so much. But like in person, when you feel their energy, their emotion.
Oh yeah.
And it's impossible not to just be like super touched by that. Like, wow, I didn't think that was possible. And here I am, like, this is one of the best moments in my life. Just having people say that in person and getting that connection is just like, holy crap, that's real. That's deep. I didn't know that could happen.
I'm always so caught off guard when anyone is nice to me, like in real life.
Yeah.
I'm just British, that I'm like, whoa.
No.
Oh, what are you doing? Is this? I didn't pay you. It's so strange. So, especially when you go to America, and then people in America are so much more willing to be nice than in the UK. So it's really like, whoa, people are, whoa, he just said a nice thing to me without, I didn't pay him at all. That's crazy. No, sorry, go ahead, Tiana. I interrupted you.
No, you're cool. So when I was studying theater, we would also study the history of theater. And the history of theater is rooted in ritual and formalization of ritual, particularly, you know, the really old pagan stuff. You have the Abydos Passion Play in Egypt and things like that. But the very root of acting and the very root of theater was that people would go to these things and then they'd feel better. And I think a lot of people enter this field to get validation, right? Which is a terrible thing to do because, like, oh my God, this entire business is a cruel mistress. And you will get rejected over and over and over again. But the job of the actor is really set closer to the idea of not really even being an entertainer, but like a healer. Because look at how so many people just feel healed by watching media where they feel represented or being given an escape. Or watching a show that kind of felt like pressing on a bruise for them, but they were like, yeah, I went through something like that, and this is just healing to me. I think that gets lost a lot. And, you know, it's nice to go to these cons because then you understand the impact and what it really means to kind of heal people with a performance. And that's probably why, you know, people come to Casey and me and Brittany and Young and Kira at these cons because they feel in a way kind of healed by media.
Yeah. You know, fiction to me isn't like this fake alternate universe because all fiction is grounded in some reality. You know, and we relate together through these mediums because we have this, I don't know, common connection, some way we relate to characters or this particular story. And I think fiction is a place where I think storytellers can escape to feel comfortable, to be vulnerable to a degree. I don't know. That's how I kind of see it, where we feel comfortable expressing ourselves and seeing how that impacts people. And it is an alternate reality, but it is from a real place, all fiction, I think. And so I think that resonates with people. And then when we're kind of back in reality, we get to like share that. And I think that's the beautiful synergy, I think, between like artists and audience. And it's always nice when people just come up and express that level of gratitude and express, you know, that they felt touched or healed, as Tiana said. That's why art is just such a wonderful thing, you know.
Well said. Damn, very powerful. I got a question from Ray Greeny, who asks, is there any major difference from voicing in anime versus voicing in a video game? Wonder if you guys have any thoughts on that question.
There's some video games that is a little anime-like, so there's maybe a little crossover, but, you know, like Last of Us is very different from JoJo, or you know, like
obviously.
Video games tend to be a lot more grounded. So, like if you do an interactive reel, for example, or a video game reel, they tend to want to stick to more grounded performances, and you know, with motion capture and you know the technology that's involved to animate these characters and making them so much more lifelike. And then anime is a lot more like higher than life, kind of form of acting. They're definitely different styles, in my experience.
For sure.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it's video games typically will be more grounded, and what that pretty much means is it's anime can be pretty over the top, and
You're right, of
especially
course.
something like JoJo, which is just bizarre, not even just like haha I said bizarre, but like it's
Yeah.
pretty wacky, and that's pretty common in anime. Maybe not all anime, but there's a lot of them where when we work on that stuff, it can be pretty, interesting energy where it's
That's a very polite way of putting
something
it.
like, yeah, even the more grounded anime that we work on, like I work on something called 86, which is a really serious, mostly serious anime that has a lot of like pretty rough moments that are it's not like a happy campy show at all. And even though there's still some moments in there, this is a very anime tropey or sounding.
Yeah.
When we do a game like Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption, or even something like Bug Snacks, which is I voiced a character in Bug Snacks, which was Floopty Fizzlebean. And even though the game is pretty goofy and the characters are basically Muppets, and a lot of the dialogue is funny, things have to be delivered in such a way that is so. I feel like when I go into the booth doing an anime, I just like switch that on.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do something like Bug Snacks or a grounded thing, that's another switch where it's just kind of like looking at the lines, like I know what kind of thing this is going to be.
Yeah.
I know how not to read it,
Yeah, anime often requires heightened energy.
heightened energy, and even if things are
Yeah.
really goofy and the energy is still weird or like high in a game, it still has to kind of match what is going on in the game. Like if you're doing like a Call of Duty game or something like that,
Right.
you're not going to be like, "Hey guys, I need backup," and sounding super anime. It's just going to be really
Yeah.
goofy. That's why when you play games like Call of Duty or Battlefield or something like that, you hear the soldiers, they sound freaking intense.
Backup. Yeah.
Especially stuff like Battlefield, they're just like charging in, and their shouts don't sound like anime. They sound like just normal people screaming their asses
Yeah.
off. And that's the stuff that just makes me go, "Damn."
You have to fit the
You know?
style of the medium.
Yeah,
that
I
you're
have to
For
fit
working
the
sure.
on, or
style
the
of it, for
particular
sure.
short
Yeah.
game.
As a
And
director, I hate that people have created this anime style. I really do. I really do, because I don't like it in a lot of the stuff that we work on. Like I try to fight against that, and so many people come in and they want to be sounding like this, and I'm like, no, I just want you to kind of talk like this, and like it takes some time breaking it down. And some people like still will sound in stuff I work on, like that's not to say everyone sounds like not anime, because there's certain times where it absolutely is like baked into the animation.
course.
But there's like
Exactly, yeah.
there's so much stuff like I think about all the time. There's this one monologue that Kellen Goff had in Akudama Drive. That's like episode 10 of Akudama Drive. And there's so many anime studios who all they tell you is project more. I'm gonna need that louder. And that I hate that. It doesn't need to be like that. And I know where it comes from. It comes from the fact that we get mixed elements, and it's really hard to then put your voiceover on top of mixed elements, and then you have to dip the elements, and there's more labor involved in all of that. Whereas in video games, like a lot of that stuff is all independently controlled. Like that's why when you go into a video game menu, a lot of times you can like be adjusting the voices versus the M&E versus whatever, the M&E like music and effects and stuff. Whereas like that's not, you can't go onto your Funimation player and change how the music and effects sound compared to voiceover.
Yeah, remix the audio, right?
Yeah. So like I know that when I'm asking my actors to like get really grounded and intimate, like my mix engineer is probably like, oh, there's Brittany again doing her acting directing thing. But like I just hate that we kind of tell anime actors like, well, in this medium you're not allowed to be like that. You can't live your truth. No, like I don't like that. So I try to fight against it, but I understand why it's there, but it's very frustrating.
Depends on the people doing it, like
Yeah.
I really am happy when I get to work on something like 86, which is really grounded. I love doing those performances the most. Something that's more subtle and not like crazy over the top. It's not, you know what I mean? Even if it's anime, it's it's almost like it's very cinematic in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's I feel like it can help the viewer kind of connect with it more because it is kind of more the performances to me based a little bit more in reality than something really goofy and over the top that just nobody would sound like that. Like I had to do that for one thing, but that was the point of the character, to sound as anime and goofy and dumb as possible. So I had fun with that. But for any other anime I do, as someone who started kind of doing video games first and then anime later, I'm glad that I kind of just do the grounded stuff anyway until they tell me to elevate it.
Yeah.
But
my chat is just spamming their like because they know I don't like 86.
Oh, you don't like 86?
I didn't like 86. No, I thought it wasn't very good. I didn't watch it dubbed though. I watched it sub. This is ages ago. I didn't like it that much.
Oh, okay.
I got a lot of shit when I said that.
Connor, I love it.
Dang.
Everyone knows I don't
I'm
like
watching
it.
the
So
chat going, what is going on?
That's why they're laughing. That's why like tell Connor, tell them you love it because people got really angry at me when I initially said I didn't like the show. They're like, how can you not like 86? It's amazing. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
It's an interesting show. It's got interesting pacing, interesting.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's not your typical
Me neither.
show. I can see it totally being like hit or miss per person.
Yeah, it was probably I'd say the biggest reaction I'd gotten to when I said I didn't like a show.
No kid, that's bizarre
weird.
because
Weird,
I don't even really know. I don't know a whole lot of people that I don't know if it's a popular show. You know, because I don't hear a lot of people.
It's really popular. It's doing really well. I know a lot of people are really enjoying it.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember when I spoke about it, people were like, "What the hell? He watched it and hated it. How can this happen?" It was okay.
There was a rant. There's a rant that my character Theo had in one of the first few episodes, and people kind of like isolated that clip and put it as like, look at this powerful like scene, and that clip got some people watching it like a couple months back, and I'm like, that's so cool because like I don't know, like doing a scene like that is just like raw anger, and you know I'm Italian, bada bing, I'm gonna be yelling and screaming, and it's gonna sound pretty okay.
In
like,
86, are you Italian as well?
There's a part where Theo just goes, "Mamma mia, let's get the pizza."
Yeah,
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I loved that in 86. That was great.
That. It was it was kind of buried in between conversation with some other characters. But if you hear it, then you know. No, but doing that scene was like, I wanted to get that right because it was a long ass scene, and I did it in like one go.
Oh wow.
I don't like to start and stop, especially with scenes that are
that.
really intense. So the scene, I'm not going to do it because it's loud. I'm going to blow your guys' ears out. But it's like, and you're just chewing out this character. And you guys can look it up, like Theo yelling scene. You'll probably find it. It's really good in Japanese. And I try to, do my best and for that too, because what's good about it is I didn't really have to match mouth flaps much because most of it is off, thankfully, which means I got to just do it as if I was doing a video game. And doing that stuff from home too is like, wow, hope the neighbors don't mind, because I was like yelling, and it wasn't just like one line and yelling, which I prefer to do it all in one go because it floats. It's like a scene. It's like
same. Like for Jolene, I would have things where I'm like, hey, can I take this in a run? It's all connected.
Yeah. When you get things in a run, like I did pretty much all of Ava in one run. Like if we had scenes with a lot of stuff, I didn't start and stop. A lot of it was just, I'd preview the entire scene, which is like 2 minutes, whatever, 3 minutes, and we'd go for it. And
that's how I prefer to work too, as a director too, because then you're seeing the entire vision come through.
Yeah. Yep.
Most of Made in Abyss is done that way, where like it's just like an entire run through.
Mm-hmm.
But that entire episode, if you know Made in Abyss, episode 10, things get real. And I remember like we were gearing up for that. We took a break and we come back in to do it, and they're like, "All right, are you ready for this? It's the scene." And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. We're going to do all at once is what they were basically saying. And I was like, okay, cool. My inhaler's over there. Okay, let's go. And they're like, what do you mean your inhaler's over there? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. We got this.
Sometimes it'd be that way. It really do.
It really do. And it was like this, but like when we like if I did that scene piece by piece, it would not have been as
No.
grotesque and like
Yeah,
as like
yep.
pained and you know, like you can't replicate that. And like
can't.
the breathing would have been all off. So
Yes.
like
Yeah.
there's so many things that it's like, no, I need to do it
Yeah.
all together.
Because the breath placement, it's all the
Yeah.
scene. It's like if you're watching a movie or a play
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that. With those little nuanced things taken out, you'll lose so much effect of the scene and the feel of it.
Yeah.
To me, anyway. Like,
Yeah. I think even the audience
you know,
subconsciously will perceive it.
I think
Yeah,
so.
especially if you come in like with half breath and then all of a sudden you're full breath right after.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, where are
Right.
you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Man. I won't keep you guys too long, so I'll ask one more final question for you all. I am curious how do you deal with, obviously it's in anime specifically, there's a Japanese dub already available. How is it kind of doing the dub and having that in the back of your head and knowing that you might be compared to it? How do you kind of work with that?
Oh,
I don't
boy.
care. I
don't
don't care
care?
anymore.
That's
Because it's
good,
going
that's
to happen
good.
regardless. Because
Yeah.
no matter what happens, we use the Japanese as, I know it sounds like I don't care, but it's like,
Yeah.
I know people are going to be awful no matter what happens. People
It's true,
online
it's
are
true.
going to be trash. They're going to be trash. The comments are going to
Yep.
be, some of them are going to be like,
You
shitty
could sound
people. This is how
identical,
it
they
is.
would still hate it because it's
Yeah.
in English.
It's
So
true,
we
it's true.
put our hearts and souls into this, and
Yeah.
people are going to just not even do it. I totally watched it, and they probably didn't. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
People aren't
So
watching
I
both.
just do my
Let's
thing,
be honest.
and I do it as much as I can do, because I can't let that. If I let that happen,
Yeah.
like let people actually like, I'll just take we match the Japanese, right? So we see the
Right.
scene, we hear it. There's the intensity, there's the vocal placement, there's the timing. Go for it, and you do what you do. And
Yeah.
if it's good for the directors, the people in Japan approve it, the director likes it, then cool. And seems like most people will like it, and that's good enough for me, And if you have people going, I'm so mad about this, great, that's great. There's other options. You do you, dude.
Yeah, watch
Like,
it subbed.
whatever.
That's a
Yeah,
valid
yeah.
choice.
Yeah. Watching things subbed is a valid choice, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time when people get really mad about anything that's changed and they get so passionate that they get vitriolic about it,
Yeah.
there's a big difference between being a fan of something and making you being a fan your identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've made being a fan your entire identity, as opposed to the experiences that you've had, or the things that you've learned in your life, or your lived experiences that are outside of your control because of who you are as a person,
Yeah.
and it's literally like just you liking a thing, then unfortunately that's something you have no control over, because it's not really yours. It belongs to companies in Japan or these
Yeah.
other places. These
Yeah.
this does not belong to you. It belongs to the creators that have a vision that we are paid to go into a session and honor. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I base all of my voices and everything off of what I hear in the original Japanese cut. If
Yep.
I can get a scene of it, I pull from there. I'm trying to match it as closely as possible. A lot of other voice actors in English do the exact same thing. So it's like, you're just upset because your identity was challenged, because something was changed, and now you have to rethink what that is and unpack it. And that's really all it boils down to. And we're not responsible for that.
Damn, well said.
We adapt into a language while doing the best we can. And the Japanese is always really pretty much on point. It's always really freaking good. And if you want to watch it in Japanese, that's dope. Just don't be shitty about it. and
exactly.
if you I'm learning Japanese. I've been learning Japanese for a while, and I like to watch things in both. I enjoy things in Japanese to understand it and learn, because I feel like it helps me a lot. Not so much anime, but like games. Like if you play like a game like the Shenmue games or something like that, because hearing that in Japanese, knowing it in English, it's interesting to play it in Japanese because you hear how people will sound normally in Japan. So it helps me speak normally when I'm in Japan, I'll know how to say these things now without sounding too much like "Arigato gozaimashita," like an anime character. It's gonna sound real cool.
Orewa, Casey,
Orewa, yeah, it's like,
Hachimashite.
yoroshiku onegaishimasu, stuff like that, rather than anything too heightened and crazy. But there's no issues with enjoying it, how you want to enjoy it. Just don't be
cool about
don't be
it.
poopy head. Don't be a poopy head about it.
Yeah. There's like I said earlier in this whole thing, like I love Maria Issei's work. So like playing a role that she played as well was really exciting, but I'm not her.
Right.
And I don't have her chords, and I have what I have. And I think like for me as both an actor and a director, a big part of my approach is like, okay, I process what the Japanese does. I process how they handled it, their ups, their downs, how they brought intensities, where they brought their unique vocal print in, the emotions they played. But I'm playing the character, and I'm going to do with my voice and the script I'm being provided. Oops, hit my mic. The script I'm being provided. What is best for the established character. And sometimes that might be playing it as the Japanese did, and sometimes it might be playing it in my own way to accomplish the same feelings and vibes, but it's in the English language, and we might attack things differently, if that makes sense, to try and bring a certain naturalism or adaptation into it. And that's something with Akudama Drive and with Kemono Jihen, where we attack things differently at times, and sometimes they'll be very similar, sometimes they'll be very different. Even like vocal print wise, like I'm not trying to like when I cast, like I watch the product and then I put it away, and then I'm focusing on the characters that are in front of me. I'm not going and playing someone's audition and then listening to the Japanese and going, I don't know, do they sound one-to-one?
Right.
Like I'm looking for who embodies that character the best, and I like pull up the character and videos and gifs of the character, and I put the voice behind it, and I try to decide like, okay, does this feel right coming out of that mouth? Is this like bringing the proper vibes and stuff? And then go from there. But that's me. Like there's a lot of things I think of like with Satoko that that I portrayed a little bit differently than the Japanese Seiyu, but I think both of us were coming at it from the same, like, this is what the character is, these are what we know about the character, and we just had slightly different plans of attack to convey her feelings. So
Thank you very much.
For my part, I always, if there are references, I try to capture the vibe of the character, but I with Poochie, for example, I didn't set out to like perfectly emulate his voice. I set out to create
Patrick style,
a version of the character that's in my head that I thought would really fit the character, who is more than just the voice. He is like an essence, you know what I mean? The essence is what you have to capture. And for me, I felt like going slightly different with the voice. It's not exactly like the Japanese, and some people won't like that, and that's okay. But for me, it instinctually felt right. And it was fortunately what the casting director was looking for. And it always serves, I think, an actor, at least for me, to focus less on the voice, like find the ballpark maybe, and that's cool. But a character is more than just a voice.
Right.
And it's also important to understand that languages are just very different from one another. English and Japanese, musically, the expression of a sentiment will sound different in English versus Japanese. I know Spanish, English, and Korean. And like in Korean, even just the way you say hello, 안녕하세요, versus hello, like it just. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just a different cadence to things, where things will sound different but will mean the same thing. And so it's like keeping all those things in mind, that it's not translation, it's localization for a reason. It's we're not just adapting the words, but the cultural elements, and expressing something that sounds different in English than in Japanese, but expressing the same sentiment and the meaning. And so there's so many different things to keep in mind for that. And so, yeah, for Poochie, I just I felt like the essence of the character was better captured with a slightly different voice than what the Japanese did. If I just emulated what the Japanese did, I don't think I would have gotten the part, and it just didn't feel right. And so you just gotta like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You finish. You finish.
Oh, mainly it's just mainly trusting your instincts and performing the character, not the voice. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very much like when people perform the same character in a play. Like someone's gonna play Hamlet different than another person's gonna play Hamlet. Or like even like on Broadway, like I saw Wicked many years ago, and I'm sure whoever is playing Glinda and Elphaba now are gonna attack it a little bit differently than whoever played it many years ago when I saw it. And it's just like we're still playing the same characters, but we're gonna approach it with our own way.
Absolutely.
Like James Bond or Spider-Man or Batman or something
Exactly.
like that, you know?
Yeah.
But I wish people thought of it more in that way versus like, oh, it's just an impersonation, or oh, it's just like whatever, because really it is us taking these characters and playing them our own way, like one would play Macbeth differently.
Yeah, we're all putting a piece of ourselves into the character, and we are all individual people who are not the Japanese actors, both capturing the essence, but doing our own little thing with it. And you know, that's part of the fun, and that's part of what's great about having that choice. It's like you have these two versions that capture the same essence, but you know, have their own little nuances here and there. And I think that's cool to have that choice instead of it being like a war between the two, which to me doesn't make sense.
And as a fan of a lot of these things, I'm like, I really like checking out different versions of games I play. Like, I'll check them out in different languages, even if I don't know what the heck they're saying.
I want to watch Stone Ocean in all the language stuff.
Oh, no, yeah.
I can't tell you how many copies of Skyrim and Fallout I have that are in all different languages because they did it in different languages. And I'm like, wonder how they did this. Wonder how they did these scenes. So I'll just get them all and just play them all. And I'm like, that's so cool. If you're a fan of something, just go for all of it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it, too. Because, like, in Latin America, the fans, anime fans in Latin America are just, they go crazy. Yep, Yang knows. That's why you nodded, baby. Yep. They go crazy. Like, being a bit of a weeb is, like, part of the culture at this point. Like, you got that DBZ in Spanish. You had the Sailor Moon in Spanish.
Yeah.
You had Knights of the Zodiac. Those are some excellent dubs. And honorable mention, the Kakegurui dub in Spanish, top notch. Great choices. Nice, truthful, beautiful. Mwah, chef's kiss. And me as a fan, I like having access to all the things in all the languages I speak and understand because that's cool.
Yeah.
It's more performances of the same thing. It's not one's competing with the other. You can just watch all the things. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up watching Dragon Ball in Spanish and Sailor Moon in Spanish, and Dragon Ball Z, the Spanish dub remains my favorite dub. And that's no disrespect to the great performances, both in the Japanese and the English language. But it's just, you know, but I've seen all three versions and they all have interesting things that they bring to the characters that color them even more. And so I appreciate the fact that I was able to watch all three versions and that's there for my consumption and for my entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's all it is, you know? It doesn't have to be this big thing.
Yeah. Young spitting.
Yeah, I think you were all spitting. Thank you. These are all like very good takes. I'm glad we got to discuss that and all the other things as well. And guys, that is the panel, but you can get some of the signed prints from all the lovely people here. You can do the exclamation point prints in the chat, which will bring up a Streamily link, which you can then go and get signed prints. And I think you write messages on them, right?
Ooh.
Right? I think you write messages on the back or the front, maybe, if they're like a certain...
If you tell us to write things, depending on what those things are, we will probably write
within
them
reason.
Yeah, within reason. Yeah.
Obviously, Patrick Starr for Young, plenty of Patrick. I think that
what have I done?
So many vulgar things on Audrey prints from Honey Pop. At this point, I think I've written almost any quote in the game.
Oh my god. Yes, if you guys want to grab one of those, you can do whilst they're still available. So, but other than that, thank you so much, guys, for joining. I really appreciate you guys giving me your time today.
Thank you for having us.
It's a lot of
This was
fun.
a blast.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
I'm
Thanks, guys.
glad to do some more educational and chill streams where we can just talk about things.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate
yeah.
you guys coming on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
for having
having
us.
us.
Yeah, hopefully I
Thank
get to have
you.
you guys on again in future another time.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah.
This was great.
Best of luck to you guys. I can't wait to hear the rest of Stone Ocean, which you guys can watch on Netflix if you haven't already. Yeah, I'm just excited to see the rest. I can't wait to see Bohemian Rhapsody, all of the insanity that's going to unfold in the later part. I'm excited.
Me too. I
Yeah.
have no
Oh,
idea
man,
what's
I
going to
can't
happen.
All right. well,
Dude, your character, man. Oh man, that's all. No, I won't say anything.
yeah. Don't spoil it. But thank you
That's
you
what
guys so
everybody
much.
says. Man, your character.
Oh no,
Like, you
no.
can give
There's-
us me if you want to
I won't say anything. There's
discuss
some-
JoJo spoilers.
I hope you
Fair,
guys
fair,
like
fair.
snails, though. I hope that's a thing. Yeah, but yeah, I guess I'll say bye to you guys, and then I'll say bye to my
Got
stream.
it.
So thank you guys so much. I'll
you
leave
so
you guys
much,
to it.
guys.
All right, bye guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Later.
Thank
See
you.
ya,
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Leave the room. Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. I left the room. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was the JoJo Part 6 voice actor panel. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I should probably do a YouTuber outro just in case this becomes a YouTuber. So let's do the YouTuber outro. If you want more interesting streams like this or just generic videos, why not subscribe to the ConnorDog YouTube channel, which you can do by smashing that subscribe button. And you can go to twitch.tv/CDawgVA to come watch me live. I'm live quite a lot of the time. So what are you doing? Come check it out. Bye. All right, guys. If you want prints from me or any of the other voice actors, there's a limited amount for me. I'm not going to sign that many because it takes too long. But I'll sign them all on stream. So if you want to buy them, I'll do a stream at some point. I'm not sure exactly when, probably within the coming week, where I just sign them. I will stream later today as well with Mouse probably. I'm going to end the stream in a bit, though, and do something else. I got to go and do a bunch of work. But I'll probably be streaming with Mouse later. And then tomorrow around the same time, I'm doing a crane game thing with Ludwig, and I'll probably stream again in the evening after that because I'm addicted. No, wait, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So yeah, that's what's going on. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, if you want to get prints before they sell out, you can go to ! Prints. They're available. So yeah, check it out.
Thanks for doing this stream, even though you could have streamed 10 hours of Jump King Hell and be a 12k Andy instead. JoJo fan service will serve you well in the long run.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's fun, you know. It's not always about getting the most views. Sometimes you want to do something interesting, you want to do something fun, change it up. This was good. Maybe not the 15, 12k Andy of our dreams, but I think it came out pretty well. I'd say so. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's raid Mouse while we're chilling. I think Mouse is still live, right? Yeah, Mouse is live. So I'll send all of you guys to Mouse, even though I know you guys are going to go there anyway. But let's make a big song and dance about it, eh? Hope you guys had fun. I'll be back later, maybe like in 4 or 5 hours-ish. I'll be back streaming. So if you want more normal streams, I'll be back then. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll leave you guys to it. All right, guys. Bye.